Alrighty, here we are. Welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Wednesday. As you can tell, nothing but W's today, as we have been putting on the social media, because we have 6 Milwaukee Brewer games to talk about today. All wins, 6-0 week, which we love. And as you can tell by all the red and white that we have on, today is part 1 of our Wisconsin Badgers football primer. So we are very excited to welcome Mike in for that after we finish discussing all the Brewers wins over the last week. So let's start with Brewers, and then we'll talk Badgers football.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
All right, so welcome back. We are heading into one of the busier times of the year, with both football teams getting going, college and professional, as well as the Brewers going, and they're on their stretch run. They are just a few wins away from beating what their projected spring training total prediction was, given at 79.5 wins. They're already at 73, so we're very excited to see the Brewers surpass that total, possibly before the end of the month. Also, as you can tell, with all the Badger stuff we have, today we are discussing Badgers football, part 1 of our primer. Also, last night was our first Green Bay Packers show of the 2024 season that will run all of 2024 season every single Tuesday from here on out. You can find us 8 o'clock live on the same channel, and we will be discussing Packers on Tuesday nights to give people a chance to listen to the show or watch it on YouTube or rewatch it on Facebook on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, instead of only having Friday and Saturday.
Or sharing it to help us out. Bring your friends in, join the discussion.
Also that, which is great. So we're going to get into a point here now where we are going to start with the Brewers. Now, normally what we do is a power pair and an underrated performer each over the last week worth of games. But today we decided we're going to do something a little bit different, and we are going to go through and we're going to discuss just what the pitching lab has been cooking up for the Milwaukee Brewers. So we're going to show how to use a site called Fangraphs to find what the Milwaukee Brewers pitching has done in the last 6 games. So we're going to go to pitching stats, obviously 2024, and we can scroll down, go to the Brewers, and we get the dates. So last Wednesday to last night, and no minimum. So here we are. These are all the Brewers pitching stats over the last week. Now, obviously, last night we had the Frankie Montas masterclass the night before. The Brewers were off on Monday. So then Sunday was the Colin Ray masterclass. The day before that was the Freddie Peralta masterclass. And the day before that was the Aaron Savali masterclass. So basically, Aaron Savali had a great outing, and Freddie Peralta was like, hold my beer, I can have a great outing. And then Colin Ray was like, hold my beer, I can have a better outing. And then Frankie Montas was like, hold my beer, I can have a better outing. Mm-hmm. And Jake and I, as we were picking our power pairs this week, were like, there's so many pitching options that we could have filled this up with just starting pitchers. So welcome, Michael, Reggie, and we are discussing just pitchers this week. So the Brewers pitching lab is brewing some Brewers, and they've brewed a ton of really good pitchers this week. So if you have not already seen, on the Facebook and the Twitter pages, we posted a graphic that has the Brewers' last 4 starting pitchers, being Aaron Savali, Freddie Peralta, Colin Ray, and Frankie Montas. Those 4 in the Brewers' last 4 wins, being at St. Louis and the sweep of the Cleveland Guardians, combined for 28 innings pitched, 11 hits, 4 walks, 15 strikeouts, and 1 earned run. That is an insane stretch of starting pitching.
Yeah, it is.
Also, I'll get into this when we get into last night's game, but Frankie Montas compared to Eric Fetty has given me a little opportunity to just let people trust Matt Arnold to do what he does and say that he knows more than we do when it comes to running a Major League Baseball franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So as I picked my power pair last night, Jake texted me this morning. He's like, I kind of want to pick all pitchers. And he's like, I could pick this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. He's like, and we could do this guy, and we could do this guy. And I'm like, and we could throw this guy in there. So, Jake, who are some of the pitchers that you wanted to highlight out of this group?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like you said, they all deserve our love because they've all been great. And it's not just the starting pitchers that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about people in the bullpen, some people that we've missed all year, some people who have been there all season, right? And the first one I'm going to point out is Colin Ray. I mean, Colin Ray has been the model of consistency for the Brewers starting rotation this year. He really has been the most consistent starter. He had 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, and 5 Ks. I mean, the disrespect this guy gets on a weekly basis is absolutely insane. I won't understand it. And for people who are thinking that we're just starting to beat this drum this year, you're absolutely wrong. You can go back all the way to last season, and we were talking like this about Colin Ray. And we were beating this drum saying that Colin Ray gives us a chance to win every single time he's on the mound. We were talking about this for over a year now. 2 seasons of talking about how good Colin Ray has been. Let's give him his flowers, give him his respect. The next guy is a guy who was our third starter, had to take a bigger role, and sometimes that weighs heavy on people. And maybe he hasn't lived up to the billing of what people thought he was supposed to be, and what they thought he was supposed to be was a Cy Young Award winner, which is Corbin Burns, or a guy who is Cy Young capable in Woodruff, right? Now, we get Woodruff back next year, but Woodruff is obviously missing 2024 with an injury, but he's still around the team, around the staff. So Freddie Peralta has had his ups and downs. I feel like he's been unlucky in some situations more than bad, but he had a good outing the last time he was out. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, an earned run, which was a home run, which that home run and the earned run that he gave up, that was elite hitting. He threw it exactly where who the heck was catching him? It wasn't Peralta. It was Sanchez, I believe. Sanchez put a target up there, and Peralta hit it perfectly, and Naylor just turned on it. And there's nothing you could do about that. Naylor's a good hitter, by the way.
Yep.
Power.
Yes, he is.
He's got very quick hands. And he put it over the wall. So the only earned run he gave up was elite hitting. He had 2 walks and 3 Ks. So, I mean, 6 innings, a 4-hit ball, and 1 earned run. I will take that every 5 days. And you're talking about this team going deep into the playoffs. We're going to need starts like this, right? So Colin Ray and Peralta are going to be the top 2 guys. No matter what way you put them, no matter how much you argue with somebody, those are your top 2. After that, I wrote down stats for Devin Williams because, boy, there is not a nastier pitcher in the league. And I might be biased in this. But we've been on here talking about how he has the best changeup in baseball history, and we're not alone. There's a guy on Twitter named Pitching Ninja. He shares the nastiest pitches he sees, and he consistently shares Devin Williams stuff. Consistently showing his changeup and talking about his how much it drops. And actually, he came to a game last year and talked about how good his changeup is, and he actually called it the best changeup he's ever seen. And this guy knows ball, man. You want to talk? Tyler and I talk, and Tyler knows more baseball than me, but I would never say I know more ball than him because that guy knows ball. So I'm looking at the comments here. I'm trying to stay on task here, but I am reading a comment from Michael. If not Ray, possibly Tobias. He has been amazing. And actually, I did write down something about Tobias because I found this out today as I was finishing up my notes. Since June 1st, Tobias Myers has a 1.86 ERA, which is first in Major League Baseball. You're talking about a rookie. I don't know how many Rookie of the Years we can have. I don't know how many candidates we're allowed, but we could have our own race on our team. And
it should be at least 5.
It seems like somebody else takes the lead every week, which is amazing for us, honestly, because we just keep winning as we're 21 games over 500 now, which nobody predicted. And it's just the rich get richer, man, honestly. We just keep churning out these pitchers, and now we got a bunch of young hitters who we're developing at the same time. If you're a Brewers fan, just realize how blessed you are because we are in an amazing spot right now.
Yeah. So Reggie asked the question, if Ray keeps it up, does he get game 1 in the playoffs when we make it? And then Michael said, if not Ray, possibly Tobias. He's been amazing. Honestly, if we're looking at it, it's probably still going to be Freddie Peralta. Freddie Peralta's probably still going to get game 1.
Yep.
Then it'll be Colin Ray.
Yep.
And honestly, after that, you pick whoever you want. So you can pick Tobias Myers, Aaron Savali, or Frankie Montas.
Could I maybe interject for one moment?
Mm-hmm.
I would honestly go like this. I'd put Freddie out there game 1. I'd go Tobias for game 2. And I would start Colin Ray on the road. Because Colin Ray has been amazing on the road.
Well, okay. If we have a second for a bye.
Yeah. I'm not talking about like I know what you're talking about. But like I'm talking about if we have to do 2 at home and then start going to 2 on the road. That's how I would set it up, in my opinion. Because Ray's been so good on the road lately.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's more veteran, so he would be better to go on the road over Tobias Myers, who's a rookie.
We saw his dominant outing that he had in Colorado as well, that 7 scoreless that he put up in Colorado. So I can see the logic behind that.
Okay.
Now, if we get into some of these other pitchers on here over the last week, looking at Jared Koenig over the last week, 3 innings pitched. He gave up 1 earned run. Obviously, you already mentioned Devin Williams. Yoel Payamps, we're going to talk about him, how good he's been over the last 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah. Brian Hudson is a rookie. Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking rookies. Obviously, we have Churio and Joey Ortiz, but then you look at pitching rookies. Brian Hudson and Jared Koenig are rookies, and Tobias Myers is a rookie. So let me throw this out there, and I'll think here. I said this a little bit the other day. I think Tobias Myers should be past Shota Imanaga in any sort of Rookie of the Year conversation.
They're not getting an argument for me.
Because the trending, like Shota Imanaga started the season like on top. Like he was untouchable damn near. Mm-hmm. And I think I saw something like his last 10 or so, like 8 to 10 starts, he has like a 4.50 ERA.
Ooh.
And that is about the time that Tobias Myers is leading not only rookies in ERA, baseball in ERA.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's way more statistics, and it should be the entire body of work of the whole season. But when we get to the end of the season, Tobias Myers should be ahead of Shota Imanaga.
I agree.
Okay, now I want to go to one other thing on the pitchers before we get into the games here, and it is the point of Colin Ray. So this is National League ERA. Right here is Colin Ray, number 13 in the National League in ERA.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can go to WHIP. Right here's Colin Ray, number 10 in the National League in WHIP.
Damn.
And we can go to opponent batting average. Colin Ray right there in 10th place again in opponent batting average in the National League. So we are getting to a point now where Colin Ray, he's not going to be, he's not going to be in the Cy Young conversation, but he might be on the list. If you get a sheet of paper that's got 15 candidates for National League Cy Young, Colin Ray's on the list. So shout out to the Brewers scouting to grab Colin Ray from Japan, bring him back, and make him a legit number 2.
That is insane. When you really like zoom out of the situation, if you take yourself and like, this is what Tyler and I do. We force ourselves to do this. And it's hard when you first start. But when you zoom yourself out of the situation, you think about somebody going to Japan, seeing a guy pitch after he was, pushed out of the MLB and being like, yeah, we can make that guy good. That's insanity. That's insane, dude. What? I don't understand. But these guys, it takes a special talent, man, to be a scout, especially a baseball scout, man. And to understand, like, your checklist of things that you're looking for, and to have a guy, maybe check off, say there's 10 things, check off 7 of them, and then be like, yeah, let's bring him in for, peanuts on the dollar. And, man, I don't get it, man. It makes no sense. But Chris Hook is a wizard, dude. We call Ruff Ball a wizard. Chris Hook's a wizard.
For sure. Colin Ray, 34 years old, by the way. Jared Koenig, who we just mentioned, should be, at least something mentioned in the Rookie of the Year conversation. He's 30.
These guys aren't having midlife crisis. They're having midlife resurgence.
And Brian Hudson is 27, and Tobias Myers is 26, and he's been with like 5 different organizations. Oh. And now with the Brewers, he's a Rookie of the Year candidate.
That is insane.
So the Brewers might not always be going for the tip-top free agent or the insane buy-in at the trade deadline, but they're good at what they do.
There is an argument to be made that they may believe so much in how they handle things that they never have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They never have to go after somebody like that.
People call it, they call it the bargain bin or whatever, but
Yeah.
I think it's a little more along the lines of diamonds in the rough than bargain bin. I think that's a perspective shift that we can shift.
I agree.
Okay. Well, let's dive in. We got 6 games, 6 W's to talk about. We get to a point where the Brewers lose 2 out of 3 to the Nationals. And people are freaking out. I could see the Cubs catching them. Brewers are going to collapse like they did in 2021. This is 2016 all over again. And the Brewers respond by sweeping Atlanta, taking 2 of 3 from the Reds, losing the first 2 against the Dodgers, then winning the next 2 against the Dodgers for a series split, sweeping the team with the best record in baseball, and then last night got a nail-biter win over the St. Louis Cardinals in St. Louis. So, since last Wednesday, 6 wins. Let's start with Game 3 from the Dodgers series.
Oh, man. That was a beautiful bow you just put on that, by the way. Now we get to dive into the nuances of the games, right? So, as you said, the Brewers came into this one losing the first 2, losing the last one versus the Reds. So, they were on a 3-game losing streak. And at this point, they were the only team in Major League Baseball without a 4-game losing streak. Well, they're still the only team in baseball without a 4-game losing streak. So, hell yeah for us, right? Frankie Montas. So, started this game, got in trouble immediately. This one started out, and, if you're a Brewers fan, you're lying to yourself. You saying you weren't sweating bullets because you're like, oh boy. But you could also come away and think that could have been an 8-run inning. It was only a 3-run inning.
I said it in our group chat. Could have been worse than 3.
It absolutely could have been. And I don't think word for word like you, but we do share the same mindset on a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And immediately when you said that, I was just like, yeah, he's right. There's no reason for me to comment. He got himself in trouble, but he got himself out of trouble, right? So 3 runs, you come away thinking, if you're the Brewers, the team that comes back all the time, they come back victories all the time. You're thinking to yourself, he gave us a chance. And that's exactly what he did. And that's what they did. They came back and they won this game, right? Mears was good in this one. Caden gave up an earned run and 3 hits. So he got roughed up a little bit in this one, but it's the Dodgers, okay? Piamps, man, we got to get some people to apologize to Joel Piamps, dude.
If he finishes August as hot as he is right now, I'm making one.
Dude, some people need to stand up on a stage and apologize.
Yeah.
Because they were saying some out-of-pocket stuff, man. He has been absolutely fantastic, lights out. You could put him in any situation now, and you could tell that the confidence is back just by the way he's walking and the way he's standing on the mound. He was fantastic in this one. Devin Williams, though. So I'm going to talk about people scoring, but I'm just so impressed with the pitching lately. And we knew this was coming. So here's the thing. We knew this was coming, right?
Yep.
Because we saw Devin Williams' due date coming back. And it coincided with McGill and Hudson, getting themselves put on the IL. But they came back. And we saw this coming. We saw Piamp start pitching good. Tyler, for some reason, him and Dominic Cotroneo were the only ones that saw us getting Nick Mears. So then when you're thinking in your head, you're like, holy crap, dude. This bullpen is going to be insane. And you start talking to yourself, if these starting pitchers can go 5 innings and get to the bullpen, they're going to be insane, dude. And what did Montes give us in this game? After the first inning, he absolutely locked in and locked them down. Was fantastic. Devin Williams going through Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman in 7 pitches.
That's insane. Somebody commented on last night's game, and they're like, "Why can't it ever be easy?" And I'm like, "You mean like last week when he mowed through the Dodgers and the Guardians?"
Right. I'm going to say this as nicely as possible. If Devin Williams isn't in your top 3 closers in baseball, shut the fuck up. I mean that with everything.
I mean, Montas said it last night. He's a 2-time reliever of the year for good reason.
Yeah.
I want to go to a couple of comments really quick here. Brandon said both Payams and Peguero, it's crazy how good this bullpen is that Peguero gets sent down. And part of this is just because Peguero is the guy that has options. Also, he's allowed a lot of inherited runners to score, so he kind of needs, clean innings to start, which is something you can try to give him. But I mean, you have the luxury of letting him go down to AAA and get his confidence back, and let him work on if there's mechanics he needs to work on, or just like baseball IQ things with how you go about pitching with guys on base to not let those inherited runners score. You have the luxury of being able to do that. So looking at this also, Michael said, is the Peguero move to send him down just a message or a pure numbers deal? He's pitched well, but continues to allow runners to score before locking it down. And that's exactly where we're going with that. He's allowed some inherited runners to score, and he has AAA options.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the two big things there. Ron asked the question, I wonder how Council is feeling after jumping ship.
I know how. I don't know if I could do his sad, depressing voice, but he probably feels like the offense didn't do enough today. He literally says that every fucking presser, dude.
Well, and we just didn't get the big hit, to come through.
Nicely done.
Like, and I get that there's different types of managerial styles and stuff like that, but Pat Murphy's a lot of fun.
Dude, we could not have asked for a better situation right now, honestly. So good.
Okay, so looking at this game, obviously we start with Frankie Montas in Game 3.
Mm-hmm.
He absolutely battled through this game. The first 4 reach after an error, 2 singles, and a walk. It takes 23 pitches before the first out is recorded in the first inning.
Yeah.
3 runs, could have been more. Also a little bit of unlucky bad luck, as if the Dodgers need luck on their side too. Kevin Kiermaier's double that he hit the bat twice.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it was going for LA for the first 2 games in the first inning of this game.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, Montas locked in. He pitched very well over the next 4 innings to finish with 5 innings pitched with 3 runs, which were not earned. Had 5 hits, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Should have been 2 walks and 7 strikeouts. Shohei Ohtani got a pretty lucky call in the top of the second inning, but that's neither here nor there. 52 pitches after 2 innings, and he finished with 5 innings pitched. He was able to get through 5 innings. Just looking at, Jared Koenig was warming in the 4th inning. Montas still hitting 97, 98 in the 5th inning. His cutter got better as the game went on. Above average spin and velocity on that pitch. Same with the 4-seamer and the sinker. This is going to be a trend that he had all variations of his fastball going after he got through those first 2 innings.
Mm-hmm.
Then Joey Ortiz, he's been so good that sometimes it's hard to remember that he's a rookie. So he had a fielding error and a base running error, but it didn't end up hurting the end result. So we get to just look at it as a learning experience instead of having people telling us that it cost him the game.
Yeah.
So it's a learning experience either way, whether you win or lose. Next, offense. The bottom of the 2nd inning, doing damage with 2 outs, getting the Bryce Durang triple and the Jackson Churio infield single. The Brewers through this game were number 1 in 2-out RBI. 234 of their 552 runs driven in came with 2 outs. That's 42.4%.
What?
So you figure if it's 0-1 or 2 outs, or when you're driving your runs in, you'd think average it out, maybe about 33%.
Yeah.
The Brewers were scoring 42% of their runs with 2 outs.
Man, they're making starting pitchers work, man. Holy shit. I mean, bullpen too, obviously, but like starting pitchers got to be shaking in their boots playing the Brewers.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they're doing it without Christian Yelich.
Yeah, which is about a third of their payroll, which makes what they're doing even more insane, by the way.
Yeah. The guy filling in for him, Jackson Chourio, had a bounce back game. Last week we talked about Jackson Chourio to like, hey, give yourself some grace on your bad days.
Yep.
Do the same for yourself in your life. And Jackson Chourio had a good bounce back day. Had the game tying hit. He had 2 hits on the day, and he played good defense.
Yes. Dude, he's getting
Sal Frelick had a little bit of not good day from the baseball gods. He was robbed of 2 infield hits. I thought one should have been safe, and then they called one an error, which I think should have been an infield hit because even if the ball was fielded cleanly, I still think Sal beats it out for a single. So Sal should have had 2 singles in that game. But other than that, you mentioned Yoel Payamps a little bit already. After this game, 11 of his last 12 appearances allowed 0 runs, and in 13 pitches to get through an inning and a third.
Damn.
So Yoel Payamps is back.
Oh, yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is Kevin Kiermaier is good. Just another guy that I'm bummed that's wearing a Dodgers uniform. Threw out Bryce Durang at home. And I apparently don't understand obstruction. Apparently nobody does. Apparently nobody knows when obstruction is supposed to be called, but you can have your foot in front of the plate and then bend your knee down in front of it as you're fielding the ball. They're literally being coached to not do those things, and they're still doing it, and I don't know where runners are supposed to go. And don't say through the catcher, because they're literally being coached to not do that.
I was literally just going to suggest, well, just run through them then.
That's literally what they're being told not to do, because that is supposed to be an interference on the runner then.
Yeah, but if they're going to just stand in your way, what else are you supposed to do? You got to make a
called out. Doreen, I don't understand it either. And we're going to get into another instance of it that happened last night to the same player, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
But, I mean, baseball gods didn't let it affect the game, thankfully, and the Brewers won Game 3. So let's go to Game 4 from last Thursday. What's it up to from Game 4 against the Dodgers?
Yeah, so your words talking about Montes battling in Game 3, that's how I felt about Myers, man. I felt like he was up there, and he was giving it everything he had. But, man, the Dodgers lineup, dude, they're filthy, man. So to give up 8 hits to the Dodgers, I'm really not upset about. The thing that I love about Myers is his control, and he attacks the strike zone. So he always has low walk number, which, shocker, coincides with low earned run average. I mean, it's pretty weird how that works, right? So I'm just like, I'm a maniac when I look at walks now. I'm just like, well, did he walk anybody? Okay, he had 1 walk. Give yourself a chance then, right? Give yourself a chance to have a good outing. And he did. Peguero came in, gave up 2 hits, no earned runs. He did give up there was a player on base that he gave up a run, but that was tacked on the Myers. Hudson came in for 2 innings and was absolutely locked down. And I tell you what, he needed that, man.
Yes, he did, especially against the Dodgers.
Yes, he really, really freaking needed that. Yes, like you said, especially against the Dodgers, man. You talked about it. You brought it up last week that he needed to get over the Dodgers, boogeyman kind of.
Yeah.
And I think he did in this game.
Yep, I agree.
Really nice to see. And then for me, I'm just gonna hit on the pitching, and then I'm gonna go to the bats. Ohtani looked really silly against Devin Williams. I was like, bro, I have never seen Ohtani look like that.
He looked like you probably had a better chance of guessing what Devin Williams was going to throw if he just flipped a coin.
Yeah, like he had 0 chance up there. He did not know what was happening. And then the strikeout Betts after striking out Ohtani. Do you understand what was pumping through my veins at that point? I was like, bro, we are going to whoop their ass in October. Dude, people don't understand the chance that the Brewers really have against the Dodgers. They got a chance. I mean, if it wasn't for that first game from Will Smith, they just went on a home run barrage in L.A. They had a power surge for a couple games. Dude, we got a chance.
Doreen said that was fantastic.
him striking out Ohtani, dude, I was just like, yo, I literally have never seen him look like that in my life, dude. That was insane to me.
Yeah.
But you talk about the first inning, the Brewers had the power in this one. And it started with Churio, and then a couple batters later, it was Contreras, and it's like, yo, we're so back right now. And then the Brewers didn't get a hit until the fifth inning, and I'm like, oh, God, this game's going to be so long and stressful. The Brewers ended up getting behind, but they ended up making a comeback in the eighth inning, and the people that scored the runs were Jackson Churio and William Contreras. So you want to talk about the two best players offensively for this team right now? It's Jackson Churio and William Contreras. And I found this stat on Jackson Churio. According to MLB.com, the only players that are that young to have at least 15 homers and 15 steals, which is what Churio got to this game when he hit his homer, were Andrew Jones, Adrian Beltre, Bryce Harper, Ken Griffey Jr., and Phil Cavarretta. That's a short list.
What an insane group of people to be peers with.
Yes, I was going to say a short list and a very good list. And now you can pencil in Jackson Churio, 20-year-old, onto that list. That's crazy, man. We're literally watching a generational talent.
He's got a shot to be like the youngest ever to have 2020.
He's got a shot, dude.
Okay. So going into Tobias Myers, I think it's very possible that having a guy like Frankie Montas could benefit Tobias Myers. Because Tobias Myers has different variations of his fastball, and then he has the changeup and the slider. I think he was doing a really good job of messing up guys' timing. We talked about this in his previous start when he was really good as well, that he is able to use the variations of the fastball that he has to mess with guys' timing and keep guys from being able to barrel up any of his pitches. Frankie Montas does similar things. We saw what the ceiling is of a guy like Frankie Montas last night. That's what obviously made him so effective when he was with Oakland. That's what made the Yankees pay up for him. That's all within his realm of capability. I think Tobias Myers has a similar capability. Looking at it, it was a really good job of Tobias Myers to get into the sixth inning after, just like Frankie Montas the day before, his pitch count inflated in the first two innings. He finished 5 2/3, gave up 4 runs, only 2 of them were earned, had the 8 hits, like you mentioned, only the 1 walk and the 1 strikeout. Now, getting the Dodgers off of Brian Hudson's back, which was a really good thing. Brian Hudson was able to get that off his back with his 2 innings pitched, no hits, no walks, 2 Ks. And this is something I know I've talked about before, and there is some validity to it. Obviously, when the games are closer, it doesn't really matter because you go into a 3-2 game. Looking at last night's game being a 3-2 game versus a game like this where you come in to, say, a 6th inning with guys on base and you're up or down by a run versus coming into the top of the 9th with a 3-run lead and you're coming in for a save with the bases empty. But there's potentially some higher leverage here. So looking at who was available, Elvis Peguero did come into this game and he gave up the hit that allowed the Dodgers to take the lead. Now, looking at who was available, Koenig, Mears, and Payamps all pitched the day before. Hudson has had problems versus the Dodgers. So you're basically looking at Peguero, Joe Ross, or Bryce Wilson. And in that situation, they went with Elvis Peguero, the shorter relief guy. And Peguero gave up a single. That gave the Dodgers a 4-3 lead. But the Brewers offense able to come back and take that lead in the bottom of the 8th with a bunch of small ball and hitting the ball off the pitcher twice.
Yeah.
So this is something else we've talked about a whole bunch of times, is the Brewers being able to win games in multiple ways. The Brewers don't rely on the home run ball or rely on only allowing their opponent to score 2 or 3 runs so they can get just enough offense to win games. Now, looking at the offense, Jackson Churio missed the first pitch a little early. He was a little early on the first pitch. Seeing Jackson Churio swinging and missing at the first pitch and then having a gigantic smile on his face. Dude, he's 20.
Yeah, everybody's...
Where the hell does he get the stones for that? To be like, all right, yep, I know what just happened. I know what I'm going to do on the next pitch. Dude, that's crazy that he swings and misses and just proceeds to hit a 400-foot bomb on the next pitch. 421 feet on the next pitch after a wide ear-to-ear smile after swinging and missing at a pitch.
Yeah.
I know I said it way at the beginning of the year in the first series against the Mets that I said once he gets some confidence, he's going to play with some swagger. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's some Steph Curry-ish where you turn around in the jump shot, dude. It really is.
Oh, that's awesome. I loved that from Jackson Chourio. Absolutely loved it. Bryce Terang was doing really well in his at-bats, had a double, a walk, and a single using the opposite field very well. But I wanted to give him some grace of base running. So at one point he gets doubled off of second base on a quote-unquote base running mistake, if you want to call it that. But I would just ask, let's look deeper. Let's just look deeper than Bryce Terang getting caught in a base running mistake or making a stupid mistake. Yes, this is obviously going to be a learning experience, but look deeper and just ask the question, why did Bryce Terang get doubled off? The contest that I would make to he made a stupid mistake or it was a base running mistake. The young Brewers and just this team in general, they are conditioned towards being aggressive.
Yeah.
Their first reaction to contact is going to be 2 steps towards the next base, not 1 step back towards the base they came from. So, yes, Bryce Terang did get doubled off in this scenario, but just a perspective flip on it is that this Brewers team is conditioned to be aggressive, and if that ball, say, hits off the tip of a glove or rolls between somebody's legs like it happened to Ellie De La Cruz last weekend, Bryce Terang is scoring on that.
Yeah.
Because this Brewers team is conditioned towards being aggressive. Brandon said Chourio's ball-to-barrel skills remind me of Brawny. I'm just loving watching Jackson Chourio every time he's batting.
I don't disagree, but I do like to listen to Rogers when people were talking about Love last year, saying just let the kid be himself and let him have his own career. That's all I'm going to do with Chourio. I'm just going to enjoy him. I'm not saying you're wrong, Brandon. I do agree with you, but I'm just going to let Jackson be Jackson. And maybe someday when the next guy who's ranked number 1 in baseball in 10 years, they're going to compare to Jackson Chourio, and we got to enjoy 10 years of Jackson Chourio. That's what I'm going to do.
Maybe, just maybe. I know we're in literally year 1, and he's 20 years old. Maybe he ends up having a better career than Ryan Braun.
I sure hope so. That would be awesome. Braun was awesome.
Just a maybe, throwing it out there. All right, so let's move on from the Dodgers, and we can go into yes, Brendan, his swing is amazing.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm not trying to say anything bad, but
let's go into the Guardians sweep. The Guardians came in with the best record in baseball. And I just want to say before I kick it to you really quick, I am happy for Stephen Vogt. I hope Stephen Vogt wins the AL Manager of the Year.
Yep.
Because he's a first-year manager and a former Brewer, and he's a good guy. If Pat Murphy and Stephen Vogt win Manager of the Years this year, I'll throw a parade. Let's do it. I would be ecstatic if those two are the winners.
Hopefully we throw a parade into our next parade.
I hear what you're saying.
Because and I think baseball needs this. It's what makes NFL king is, yes, there are dominant teams, but you never really truly know who's going to be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It really is a roll of the dice, right? And with baseball getting all the bad talk of, no salary cap, I think a Guardians Brewers World Series would breathe some freaking dragon breath into the league. I think that would be amazing. You have young guys, you have guys who have been established and who are really good, like a Jose Ramirez over for Cleveland. I mean, you have first-year managers. You have Pat Murphy's an old school kind of guy. I mean, it would just be everything. Honestly, it would be amazing. Be awesome for the Midwest too. Secretly, I am cheering for Cleveland over in the AL, especially if the Brewers, don't end up making it. I will be the biggest Guardians fan that I can possibly be without giving up my fan card for the Brewers. But on this day, I was not cheering for them. I was cheering for the Brewers. And I was cheering for a former Cleveland Guardian in Aaron Savali. And boy, that had to feel good.
Yeah.
That had to feel so good. I don't care what anybody says. Athletes always downplay it. Just another game. Bullshit. Bullshit. You are a human being, and you had to feel wronged when they traded you. You had to have. There's no way you didn't. You were drafted by them, developed by them, and then they were just like, yeah, we don't want to play with you anymore. Sorry. But I will say, that's literally the first thing I wrote down for my notes. I said, that must have felt fucking good. He also beat them last year with the Tampa Bay Rays, but that one was 9-8. He dominated them in this one.
The first thing I wrote was Aaron Savali, gem.
Yeah, he dominated. 6 innings, 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, and 4K. So Savali, when he gets in trouble, he has a lot of walks. And in this one, he didn't, and he absolutely was outstanding. It does help when Willy Adames gives you another 3-run homer, which apparently is just like, if he was a comedian, his shtick would be 3-run homers because he's good at it. 10th 3-run homer of the year, which now extends his franchise record, which is also first in the MLB this year. Got him to 22 home runs. He's up to 84 RBIs after that. And Willy Adames, dude, the contract extension just keeps getting more and more expensive.
Yeah.
The Contreras extension just keeps getting more and more expensive. But if I'm not going to talk about that. Never mind. I'm going to pivot. Peguero was also good in this one. An inning pitch, 1 walk, 2 Ks. Bryce Wilson got roughed up a little bit because the Brewers had a 5-0 lead, and he ended up giving up 3 runs. Now, a couple of the runs are off of Jose Ramirez.
Yes.
He's good, by the way.
Very good.
He's like top 3, top 5 good.
Very, very good.
Plays very good defense, underrated. Nobody ever talks about that guy.
That's fair.
He doesn't get enough talk, honest to God.
It's fair.
They talk about Aaron Judge all day, twice on Sunday, twice on Monday, twice on Tuesday.
Yep.
They don't talk about Jose Ramirez enough because he's stuck in Cleveland. If Jose Ramirez was in New York or Boston, they would never shut the hell up about the guy.
He'd be a front runner for MVP.
As he should be. He's that good. Switch hitter, hits power from both sides of the plate. Yep. You go up a homer that guy, you just kind of be like, all right. He does that.
Yeah.
So Wilson had to take that one on the chin, and he made the last couple outs of this game, the last 5 outs, very meaningful. Nick Mears came in and said, "Thank you, sir. Come again." And Joel Payamp said, "You're not welcome. Goodbye." And Brewers win. He had 1 K, 0 hits, 0 runs, 0 walks, but tremendous stuff. Mitchell also added a 2-out RBI, I want to add. Terang had a stolen base, get him to 37, and he had an RBI, which got him to 50 RBI on the year. So all around, just like a really, really good day.
So I had the pleasure of being in attendance for this game, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Seeing Aaron Savali pitching, he did a really great job of limiting traffic. The only real threat came in the 4th inning after Willy Adames' error. They had 1st and 3rd with 1 out. He responds with a pop-out and a strikeout. He finished the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th innings all with strikeouts. He finished the game with 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 walk, and the 4 Ks. And the 4 hits that he gave up came in 4 different innings. So he did a really, really good job of limiting traffic. Like, yeah, it wasn't a bunch of 1, 2, 3 innings, but it was a lot of only 1 base runner innings.
Mm-hmm.
So he did a really good job of limiting traffic that way, because I've talked about with the Brewers about stacking traffic to try to get to runs. So to limit the traffic would be a way to prevent runs in the way that I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Throw that out there. Seeing the Brewers, offense jumping on early, tacked on a couple runs, and that was all they needed. That was good to see that as well. Willy Adames, he did have the error, and he's struggling in the field a little bit lately. Being in person, I get to see what happens in between innings. And as he came off the field, he was screaming into his glove, obviously not happy with himself, expecting better from himself. We can all just pick him up and say, get him next time, Willie, because we know he's capable of great defense.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on from that, Elvis Peguero started an inning clean, perfect timing, get some confidence and some momentum. That was all he needed to throw a clean inning. After that, Nick Mears, he looked dominant when he came in. He came in to clean up after Bryce Wilson gave up the home run to Jose Ramirez, which was, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It was electric. He swung and hit it, and it was just like, oh, yep, that's gone. Yeah. And everybody knew it. And it's like, all right, well, I mean, it's J-Ram. Like, I'm not going to be mad that you gave up a home run to Jose Ramirez.
Yeah.
Then he gave up another home run that made it 5-3. And then Mears came in and shut shit down real quick. Got 2 4-pitch strikeouts, 1 looking, 1 swinging. Took him 8 pitches. 6 of them were strikes and 2 strikeouts. Now, we talked about why I thought the Brewers could trade for him because he's a pitcher with a high spin rate. Both of his pitches were above average for his season on top of already being good. So he had his stuff going. After that, obviously, we mentioned Payamps again. His 7th straight scoreless appearance in this game, and now 12 of 13. So Payamps is dealing lately. And then I just wanted to throw out, being in attendance, the highlights. 1, getting Andre Monasterio to wave to me, because I love Andre Monasterio, because I love his love for the game. 2, seeing him messing with Quentin Berry during a pitching change. Quentin Berry comes over to talk to the guys during a pitching change, and Monasterio standing next to him, and he like pulls his helmet off, and then he's like scratching his hair and messing with him, and then he's like pouring sunflower seeds and shit on him, and then he puts his helmet on backwards and sideways. It was funny to see Monasterio messing with Quentin Berry. And then I got Willie Adames to throw me some sunflower seeds.
Nice.
Willie Adames is standing on the top rung, and he's pouring sunflower seeds into his hand. I'm like, Willie, can I have some seeds? And he turns and he like tosses a handful through the net.
Nice.
That was cool. Yeah,
nice.
Willie Adames throw me some sunflower seeds. That was a highlight of the night. Okay. Game 2 from Saturday. What stood out to you from game 2?
What stood out to me is that our bullpen is not to be fucked with. Okay? I had to say that with emphasis, and I wrote in capital letters, emphasis on this. Peralta, dominant. 6 innings, 4 hit, 1 earned run ball. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. The strikeouts are a big thing in baseball today, and he is a strikeout pitcher. But what he needs to focus on is making 6 innings of low hits, low earned run. That's what he needs in his next couple outings, and this is a great start. Payamps, Koenig, Williams, they ain't messing around. They got shit done today. The Brewers started this one with a really, really good AB from Sanchez, and he got to a 3-run count, and he swung, and the way he got a strike is he swung and he just missed it, and I was like, ooh. I was like, he's hitting the next one, because you could tell he had a good swing, and he was like kind of mad at himself that he didn't hit that one, and then he absolutely crushed the next pitch, and I was like, oh yeah, baby, I knew that was coming. Like, damn, I'm starting to know baseball a little bit, huh? Did a double to left, and Terang ended up scoring, making it 1-0. And I talked earlier about the run that Peralta gave up, and it was a crazy hit by Naylor. I believe he's Josh. Josh is the first baseman. Naylor is
the catcher.
Yep. Okay. I always get them mixed up for some reason, so I have to
because they're brothers and they have the same last name.
Yeah, and one's the big boy and one's the skinny guy. But Naylor, crazy quick hands to be able to catch that fastball up there, and he only hit it 360 feet, right?
He snuck it into the beer pen.
Yeah, that's a crazy to hit it that far.
If Al Frelick was 6'2", he's probably catching it.
Yeah.
But he's 5'9", so.
But then in the bottom of the 4th, so the Brewers responded immediately. Contreras ended up sneaking one over the wall, and the funniest thing to me is I didn't write down the pitcher's name, so I didn't care. The Guardians pitcher, you saw him watch the ball. They showed the replay, and then he goes, "Wow!" And it's like, what are you wowing? Did you not just see your teammate just hit one 20 feet less for a home run? And you're going to wow? The audacity of that, man. Great at bat from Contreras for him to be able to stay back on the breaking ball and to be able to kind of guide it over the wall. He's in a groove right now, and there is no catcher in baseball better at hitting when they're in a groove than William Contreras. I can confidently say that.
That's fair.
Home run 17 for him, RBI 71 for him. Brewers were 1 for 7 runners in scoring position. The first at-bat they had with a runner in scoring position, they got a hit, and it ended up being enough. It is what it is, man. You talk about it. We talk about it. We always talk about it with all our teams. Being able to win in multiple ways. The Brewers won a 2-1 game. They found a way to win. The bullpen dominated.
Honestly, if you just look at the pitching, the starting, and the bullpen,
Yeah.
and then Gary Sanchez, that's your winning right there.
Yep.
Now, people are wondering why Freddie Peralta, why you pull him when he's pitching one of his best games of the year with only 81 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, just earlier in this show, said if you can get through 5 innings, you can turn over to a dominant bullpen. We just talked earlier, guys in the comments saying it's crazy how good the Brewers bullpen is that a guy like Paguero can get sent down when he's been pretty effective for the most part outside of inherited runners.
Right.
So to get Freddie Peralta 6 innings, we get to the point of, we knew earlier in like the 2020s and like the late 2010s where we had the Knebel Jeffress hater, and then we had Knebel Williams hater, and having these groupings of pitchers to be able to be like, okay, 7th, 8th, 9th, if you don't score in the first 6, you're not scoring at all.
Yeah.
The Brewers have that, except they have like 7 guys like that.
They could literally go like 5 innings with how
we could come up with 2, like we could split the bullpen in half and still be like, yup, you're not scoring after the 7th. Yup, you're not scoring after the 7th.
That's so stupid, bro.
We could each draft a bullpen team from the Brewers bullpen and both have dominant bullpens.
Yeah, we would both feel good about our bullpen, honestly.
That's dead serious.
Yeah, me too.
That's how good the Brewers bullpen is. Freddie Peralta got you through 6 innings pitched and only gave up 1 run. Say thank you. Shake his hand. Give him a pat on the ass and say, good job, Freddie. Do that again next time. I don't care if it takes you 75 pitches to get through 6 innings. If you do that and the bullpen's fresh, yeah, you got out of work early that day. Good for you.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So it was good to get him a gem. 6 innings pitched, even though he was only at 81 pitches. If he can get some more innings or more outings like this heading into September in the playoffs, getting that version of Freddie Peralta back would be massive for the push for a top 2 seed and for the playoff run.
Freddie decided to move his August from last year to October this year, so just putting the word out there.
Dude, if that happens.
Just putting the word out there.
Okay, going to the bullpen. Jared Koenig is good. He hit 98.9 miles an hour in the 8th inning.
Yeah, he did.
He gave Kwan, a very good hitter.
Yep.
96.9 the top of the zone. Then gives him a curveball in the dirt. Comes back with 97.7 with 16 inches of break to the outer third of the strike zone.
Yeah, that's filth.
And then follows with 97.1 painted on the outside edge.
Golly.
Like, Steven Kwan's a good hitter, but even at that, you got to be just like, dude, what do I do with that?
You don't.
You don't. Like,
yeah.
Following that, David Fry got 98.2, 97.5, 96.9, 97.8, 98.9, and then an 82.2 mile an hour curveball.
Oh.
Oh, that's awesome.
Man, you better just pray to whatever God you believe in, because that's all you got left, man. Honestly.
And then John Kenzie Noel, who the Guardians call Big Christmas, which is just a fucking sweet nickname. I can't even lie to you.
That's a sick nickname.
He got 97 3 times, and then a low curveball, and then 98.2 at the top of the zone.
Oof.
Jared Koenig just came in and he's like, yeah, I'm just going to be insanely filthy for this inning and rack up 3 quick strikeouts, guys.
Dude, he's been on one for the last couple outings, dude. He's been attacking people.
I said it earlier in the season when he was pitching really well that he keeps earning leverage, and Jared Koenig got to be the 8th inning guy today. On Saturday. They went Payamps, Koenig, Williams, and it was disgusting. It was 9 straight batters retired. Devin Williams got a 1-2-3 in the 9th inning again. So to the people who were complaining about last night's game, why can't it ever be easy? He went 1-2-3 through the Dodgers, 1-2-3 through the Dodgers, and then 1-2-3 through the Guardians in his last 3 appearances.
Well,
can't ever be easy. Then, lastly, I wanted to give Gary Sanchez a bunch of credit. First, for the heads-up play to grab the tapper by Jose Ramirez in the top of the 9th inning he had a bunch of top spin on it, so it was about to spin back foul.
Mm-hmm.
But Gary Sanchez jumped up, grabbed it, and tagged Ramirez before it was able to spin back, grabbed it in fair territory. That is a really fortunate way for Gary Sanchez to recognize that and get an out to help Devin Williams face one of the better hitters in baseball.
Yeah.
Then I just wanted to highlight Gary Sanchez. He was my underrated performer last week, but in the month of August through Saturday, Gary Sanchez is slashing 348, 500, 522 for a 1,022 OPS with only 4 strikeouts in 30 plate appearances.
We're going to have a discussion here in a second, but continue.
Just wanted to point out that Gary Sanchez is on one for the month of August.
Okay. You ready for this discussion? Or you want to read Brandon's comment?
I'm going to read Brandon's comment first.
Go ahead.
Brandon said Mizradowski has a .4 whip in 8 innings in AAA. He's ready for his September call-up. Threw like 8 pitches over 98 last night. Bold take. Brewers win a franchise high 97 games. I would love that, Brandon. And I tell you what, I will look at tracking it and seeing. Obviously, they need 24 more wins. I think they have like 39 or 40 games left, just off the top of my head. But I will look at it and see how many games they would need to win a franchise record games. It would be wild for that to happen in a year where they were predicted to win 79.5.
Dude, you know how funny it'd be if they won 97 and they like yin yang the fucking record prediction, dude? That'd be
Dude, that would be wild.
Dude, hey, there's a graphic, by the way. But anyways, the discussion I wanted to have, because are you ready to go to the final game? Yep,
let's go to the final game.
So, shocker, spoiler alert, Brewers won this one 2-0, okay? I'm going to talk about Colin Ray, then I'm going to start the discussion I want to have. Colin Ray was perfect through 7 innings, and you're going to look at his stuff, at his stats, and be like, but he only went 7 innings. Why was he pulled if he was perfect? Because he gave up a hit in the beginning of the 8th, didn't record an out. So, Tyler and I were in the chat talking about don't say anything, but he was perfect through 7, gave up a hit. It is what it is. The Brewers ended up winning 2-0, shut him out. The discussion that I want to have is we always talk about how good, the bullpen is, or how good this starting pitcher has been, or how good this hitter has been. How good has Eric Haas been? Because he got all the credit from Colin Ray after this one for calling a great game that allowed him to be perfect through 7 innings. And he gave him all the credit. We are so lucky to have 3 catchers, which he was so good in spring training, which is why I predicted them to start the season with 3 catchers, which sounds insane. But, you look at how good he's been. It's so hard for a professional athlete to stay sharp when they're not taking ABs. Mm-hmm. You can hit in batting practice and all that stuff, but they talk about it all the time. That's not the same, right? And we talk about live action not being the same, right, as like a tune-up or whatever.
Yep.
So for him to just come in and call that kind of game and still be able to rake and hit like the way he's been, dude, I want to give him his credit. So we have a lot of tools at our disposal, and Murphy's doing a really, really nice job at using the right tools at the right time.
Yeah, I like that.
But if you would have told me before the season that at some point Colin Ray is going to be 11-4. Now, I'm a Colin Ray fan. I talked about it, but I would have been like, slow your roll, guy. Slow down. Maybe more like an 8-4. But 11-4 is just crazy talk, dude. That's crazy. If he, I dare I say, if he has a hot September and he gets to I don't know how many starts he's going to have left, math. Say he gets to 15-4, you might have to put him in a discussion, dude.
He could rise. He could certainly rise, and he has been.
He's not going to win, but he could enter a top 8 or a top 6 if he goes 15.
I think right now he's already in the 10 or 11 range.
If he goes 15-4, dude, you almost have to put him in a top 7. I'm so serious right now.
Another thing to keep an eye on.
15 wins is a lot of wins.
Yeah.
Compared to 4 losses. So that's just my opinion on it. The Brewers didn't score a lot in this one, didn't have to. Again, they allowed 0 runs. So, I mean, the offense was kind of stagnant, but they still ended up with 6 hits. Bryce Terang had 2 of them, so that was nice to see. He was on base 3 times. Adames and Haas were, responsible for the runs, and I really just wanted to talk about Eric Haas being really good when he's got barely any playing time.
Eric Haas did drive in a run on the contact play.
He did.
So that does also work sometimes. It doesn't always never work, you know. People like to point it out when it doesn't work, but not when it does.
Right.
Michael said he's been Mizorowski's biggest fan, but Yoho has also been lights out. Amazing rise through our system this year. Yeah, Yoho has been insane. I posted an article that I wrote for reviewing the Brewer the other day about how insanely fast he's rocketed from the high A Timber Rattlers through AA and now into AAA, and he's still lights out there also.
Yeah.
Pretty similar to Devin Williams as far as his stuff goes, just lower velocity.
Yeah, what about Henderson? We saw him start for
and he's in AAA too.
He's in AAA already too. It's just like, dude, what the hell? Do they got the fast track to the majors?
He is another absolutely disgusting changeup. Javik Blake, who I was able to get some Q&A with on Yoho, called it the unicorn changeup, so we could have the unicorn and the airbender.
Not the unicorn, dude.
The unicorn changeup. That's what Javik Blake called it.
Dude, if I tell my daughter that, now if you watch the watch party on Patreon, my daughter was on there. She does this every time she sees the Brewers. If I tell her, she's the biggest unicorn fan right now. If I tell her that this guy has a unicorn changeup, I might
expect the ball to come out of his hand with a horn on it.
For real, right?
Okay. On the subject of Colin Ray, a 9-pitch first inning, cruising through the 5 innings, no hits, no walks. He had 1 hit by pitch, so he was technically not perfect, but he had a hit by pitch, nothing else, through 5 innings. Didn't give up a hit until 2 outs in the 6th inning, gave up a couple of singles, and then got Jose Ramirez to pop out. Beautiful bounce back game for Colin Ray. Had all variations of his fastball working off of each other, only allowed 4 base runners total in 7 innings, plus 2 singles, 2 hit by pitches, no walks, and the 5 strikeouts. A unicorn, who I don't know if we can go into that one, Brandon.
I don't think that was that bad.
A little tough. If his name was like Yono instead of Yoho.
Okay, I hear you.
That's a little hard to say. Whatever. We'll figure something out when he's wearing a Milwaukee uniform. So Colin Ray, for the second time in August, he's gone 7 scoreless. The opponents, Atlanta, Cleveland.
Damn.
Colin Ray has gone 7 scoreless innings against 2 teams, and it's the Guardians and the Braves.
Damn.
So, you know, the Brewers have struggled with teams like the Nationals and the Marlins for whatever reason. But to say that the Brewers can't beat good teams because they've lost to some bad teams like everybody has is ridiculous, and it just needs to stop.
Yeah.
So just wanted to throw out there, throughout this entire series, the Brewers in all 3 games scored first in the first.
Hey, that's good.
So jumping out early. In the bottom of the second, they beautifully executed a hit and run. Sal Frelick on first base, went to go steal second base. The second baseman went to go to the bag, and Joey Ortiz just perfectly hit a tapper right into the spot vacated by the second baseman. Perfectly executed hit and run. And then after that was when they had the Eric Haas contact play that allowed Sal Frelick to score for the second run. Perfectly executed. And then I wanted to go to the bullpen quick. Just Brian Hudson came in, locked it down, and then followed by Jared Koenig, who gave another 1-2-3 showing.
Yep.
Okay. So the Brewers had Monday off. Then they played last night. Game a little bit of a pulse pounder, but still another W. So what stood out to you from you? What stood out to you from last night?
I just want to say that before the season's over, this year's been fun. Having a lot of fun watching this team, man. It's just another connection. It's another emotional connection for me to the Packers that I had last year with them, where me and you were just talking about how we were sad that we couldn't watch them anymore because they were so fun to watch. If eventually the Brewers end up losing and it's not with the trophy in their hands, I'm going to have that same feeling, man, because this year has been so much fun, dude. They win so many different ways. It's a great team, dude. But starting yesterday was Frankie Montas, right? His 4th start for the crew. And he went 7 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, and 3 Ks. His 7 innings and his 1 hit both tied his season high this year in his 4th start for the Brewers. He, which is insane. His 1 hit he gave up was a single in the 4th inning, so didn't even allow a batter past the first base, which is insane. The Brewers' 6th straight W. Now, we have to have a conversation about Nick Mears. The Brewers were up 3-0 in this one, by the way. They did a great job producing runs. William Contreras had an absolutely fantastic night at the plate last night. 3 hits for him. 3 of the 8 hits for the team. But I want to tell you that in case you didn't know, that Nick Mears is a human being, and he is not going to be perfect every single time. Gave up a home run last night, but like a teammate should, Koenig came in, 3 pitches, you're out. We got out of it.
Yep.
Brewer still had the lead. It wasn't like he gave up the lead or we ended up losing because of it. He just made it interesting.
Not to mention it came against Matt Carpenter, who's like literally made a career out of killing the Brewers.
Yeah. I was going to leave that part out, but yes.
I give credit where it's due. Can't be too much of homers, you know. We're already optimistic and get called being homers for that. So
yeah. But Devin Williams, right? 1 inning, 2 hits, 1 walk, 3K. That's what I wrote down. And yes, I'm going to be facetious. And yes, I can say that word, Bryant. So, haha. He just wanted to make it interesting. He just wanted to make it interesting, right? That's all he wanted to do. He just wanted to give people a show so when they were eating their popcorn watching the game, he made it interesting. That is my breakdown. And what I think, honestly, Devin Williams got himself into trouble. He got out of it, okay? That's all you need to know. The Brewers ended up winning. There's no reason to go on here. And yes, I saw the same things. Can never be easy. Oh, we're going to blow a game. We're going to have a game like this in the playoffs, except they're going to blow it. Blah, blah, blah. Just shut up. We didn't blow it. We won the damn game. So just take the win and move on. That's how I feel.
So my dad pointed out Frankie Montas's low pitch count as well.
Mm-hmm.
Only 36 pitches to go through the first 3 innings. Obviously Jake mentioned the 7 innings that he pitched, only through 89 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
So great work by Montas. He was really fantastic around the edges of the strike zone and mixing his pitches. He is a guy who has a 4-seamer fastball, has a splitter, has the sinker, cutter. He's got all the variations of the fastball. It makes it hard to judge which one he's going to throw you. And the miles per hour vary by a handful. And it just makes them harder to hit. It makes it harder to barrel up any one of them because he can throw all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Tobias Myers is similar. Colin Ray is similar. That's how we've seen them be extremely effective, is by being able to mix those well and locate them well on the edges of the strike zone.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, you sent me the Colin Ray meme where it was like you asked Colin Ray to paint your house, but all he did was paint the corners. That's what the Brewers pitchers have been doing.
Yeah.
Now the Brewers are now 4-0 and Frankie Montas starts. The Cardinals are now 1-3 and Eric Fetty starts. So the Brewers acquired Frankie Montas on the Monday before the trade deadline. The next day, the Cardinals get Eric Fetty and Tommy Pham, and the Brewers have done better with Frankie Montas than the Cardinals have done with Eric Fetty. Frankie Montas's numbers with the Brewers in 4 starts, 21 innings, a 2.57 ERA, 21 strikeouts, 8 walks, a 2.10 opponent batting average, and a 1.19 WHIP.
Is that good?
That's extremely good.
Uh-huh.
The Cardinals in Eric Fetty's 4 starts, he's pitched 21 2/3, a 4.98 ERA, 14 strikeouts and 8 walks, a 2.68 opponent batting average, and a 1.38 WHIP.
Interesting.
This is one of those things where it's like, how do the Brewers just keep taking other teams' pitchers that aren't great and making them great? And it's just the pitching lab go burr meme, and that's what it is. It's a real thing.
Such a great meme.
And yes, Nick Mears gave up a 2-run home run. But the Brewers didn't get him easily from the Rockies because he was dominant. They got him because he has underlying good stuff, and they just need to bring that out of him. We've seen what he's capable of. Obviously, he had an over 5 ERA. It wasn't because he was perfect that the Brewers wanted him.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted him because he's got skills.
Yeah.
Just needs some polish. So I'm not worried about Nick Mears. I'm not worried about using him, that putting him in a game is going to cost us anything.
Right.
Reese Hoskins, bit of an unlucky day. Credit to the Cardinals for their defense. He was robbed of a couple hits, had a 104.2, a 103.0, and a 100.3 exit velocities, and no hits to show for that. A little bit of a rough day for Reese Hoskins, unfortunate, but it is what it is. Then we got Joey Ortiz, defensive masterclass along the third baseline. He had one really long throw across the diamond, and another one where it was a sliding play that he had made to make a backhand stop and then force a crazy throw to Bryce Terang. And weren't going to get the double play, but the play that he made to get the ball to Bryce Terang was insane.
Yeah.
So last thing I want to say is on the subject of Bryce Terang, I still don't know what obstruction is. It's another day and another dude's foot in front of the bag, and I still don't know what obstruction is or when they're ever going to call it, but they're like watching the broadcast and like, this is what they emphasized all spring that they weren't going to do. And here they are doing it, and they're not calling it anymore. I don't know what obstruction is. Nobody knows what obstruction is. People on the broadcast don't know what obstruction is. People that are beat writers for the team don't know what obstruction is. Nobody knows what obstruction is. Players don't know what it is. Whatever, just do what you want. The obstruction rule might not have been made. You just apparently it was only a rule for spring, and they're not actually going to use it in the regular season.
Well, if I could add something, I'm always the comic relief guy. We don't have obstruction in Wisconsin, but we have construction. Like 41, and it's trash. And the guy we're about to bring in here to talk about the Badgers is dealing with it with me, so he understands how shitty it is. I hate 41 right now.
That's
my rant.
I don't understand the obstruction thing, and it's not going to change. And I don't understand how a guy can put his foot in front of the bag, and like Terang is just supposed to slide and dive under his junk to get to the bag because that's the only place he could go.
That sounds like a shitty situation.
Like, what are we doing here? Ask me how I really feel. Ask me how I really feel. Don't ask. Don't ask how I feel. Okay. So over the next week, Brandon said only 10 more years of construction on 41.
Hey.
Okay. So the Brewers over the next week, they have 2 more at St. Louis tonight and tomorrow. Then they have 3 at Oakland, and then we will have the first of the 3-game series at home against the Giants between now and next Wednesday. So, with that, anything else you want to say on the Brewers?
Division champs. Yes.
Yeah, that'll probably be locked up.
Yes.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
I do want to say thank you for bringing up that this is fun.
Yeah.
I was telling myself that last night while Devin Williams is pitching that they put it in, they give an intentional walk to get to Paul Goldschmidt. And we're like, okay, this is where we are. It is late August. Devin Williams is pitching to Paul Goldschmidt with the bases loaded in a 1-run game.
Yeah.
Obviously, the heart's pounding a little bit because you want the team to win. That's why it's pounding. It's not because you're scared they're going to lose. It's pounding because you want them to win. And just taking a second to tell myself, like, hey, this is fun.
Hey, they're at FS1 tonight, dude. We get national TV again.
So I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you said it. I appreciate that. I think it's a good thing to say.
Always. Always.
All right. Are you ready to talk football?
I got to tell you, we're about to let a guy in here. And the vibes, Tyler, what are the vibes, Tyler? Immaculate. The vibes are immaculate. Bring him in. Bring him in.
Here we go.
Bring him in. Bring him in. Mikey's back, baby. We are so fucking back right now. Let's go.
So we are here. This is where we are. Last night we had a Green Bay Packers show. Today we have a Wisconsin Badgers football show. We are going to go through today the additions to the team, the departures from the team, and we're going to give our breakout candidates, our dark horse candidates, and our freshmen to watch. And then Mike's going to give us the state of the 2025 recruiting class because he is tuned into that. So we're going to give him the stage for it. And so let's get into it. Let's just welcome in Mike, and let's start with the additions to the team.
Yeah, Jake, at first I was so pumped up to be here, but then you brought up that 41 talk, and I'm like, oh, man, you too, huh?
I'm
So,
sorry,
no.
dude. It's terrible. Every morning I'm like, I hate my life right now.
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's why I come on shows like here. We talk. We get through it. It's all good. Thanks for having me on again, guys. Looking forward to this year. As a Badger fan, and I think a lot of the base going into this season, I really think it's cautiously optimistic in a lot of ways, and that's how I think of it. I think of cautiously optimistic. We're talking about additions now, and I will say this staff really did a good job of literally loading up at like certain positions where we needed help. They absolutely loaded up. So, it starts with the quarterback, right? First and foremost, we got Tyler Van Dyke, 3-year starter out of Miami. Wisconsin in general is very familiar to him because the previous staff also recruited him, 4-star guy coming in. Last year, he threw for 19 touchdowns, 12 picks, 2,703 yards. Phil Longo's seen him twice as well as an assistant over at North Carolina too, so he was familiar with him as well. The goal with Tyler Van Dyke, to my understanding, is to get him back to how he played his freshman year. He had 25 touchdowns, 6 INTs, 2,900 yards passing, right? But he's also been through 3 offensive coordinators the last 3 years. And his freshman year, the offensive coordinator that he had is more catered to the air raid offense, which is clearly what we want to run now. So I think it's the goal of this staff, particularly Longo, to get him back to those ways. Again, it's so the offense isn't entirely new to him, I guess. But, the ultimate goal is for him to have that kind of a year and to put us over where we want to be, right, which is the college football playoff at the end of the day. So, happy to have him in my view. And then second, I would go Jaheim Thomas in terms of, importance and whatnot. You're bringing in a guy that literally was a second-team All-SEC player from the University of Arkansas, so the Southeastern Conference. This guy's going to be all over the field for us. He was also prior to Arkansas, he was at Cincinnati for 2 seasons. So he is very familiar with what this defense is going to want to run. You're going to see him line up in multiple positions, not even just the middle linebacker spot where he is projected to start, but you're going to see him all over in certain packages. So I'm personally very excited about that. And then addressing the outside linebacker room, this was definitely a position of need. Because we saw our boy CJ Getz literally for every snap out there on the field last year. And come to find out in the offseason, he lost about 15 to 20 pounds throughout the year because, he's playing every single snap. So first and foremost, we got Leon Lowry, outside linebacker transfer from Syracuse. He had quite the interesting commitment coming in during the offseason. That's a story for another time, I think. But and then we got John Pius, another outside linebacker from the University of William & Mary. He was an All-American there, 110 total tackles the last 2 seasons. And ever since, and this is an interesting stat, since he's gotten on campus this year, he's gained about 30 pounds. So he's as legit 6'4", 250. Brady Collins was raving about this dude when he was on a couple of the podcasts. It sounds like he's going to be he's going to be a third down specialist, coming in for maybe Darrell Peterson here and there, or Lowry as well. And then going into the running back room, we got Mr. Tawee Walker, Oklahoma transfer, which I am very excited for.
I'm jacked for Tawee Walker.
This guy, I think, is going to be. I know we've talked about having that Thunder and Lightning combo with in the running back room. I legit think this is it right here. This guy packs a punch, to say the least. You see, Ricardo Hallman was interviewed, I think it was a couple weeks ago, because he was coming back from a very, very small injury. And the first hit that he said that he took, which got him back into the swing of things, was taking a knee pad right to the helmet from Tawee Walker, and his helmet flew off in practice. There's a clip of that somewhere, but I am very excited. It comes from Oklahoma, had 500 yards rushing, 7 touchdowns. I mean, this guy, I'm very excited for. So, and then big position needed in the offseason here was defensive tackle. Unfortunately, some news today, we've heard James Thompson Jr. was out. So That's why we brought in more additions here, right? So we got Brandon Lane, D tackle transfer from Stephen F. Austin, 45 tackles last season, legit 6'3", 312 pounds. He was consistently with the twos this year, so in fall camp, so he's going to be fighting for that starting position now for sure, alongside Kurt Neal. And then Elijah Hills, D tackle transfer from University of Albany. I think it was just another, another piece to complement the whole D tackle room in general, because that's definitely a room where we don't want to put, Kurt Neal out there for 70 snaps in a game. And then probably my favorite addition, I know we got to see him ball a little bit yet because he's still coming off injury. We got Tackett Curtis, middle linebacker transfer from USC. I followed this dude's recruitment probably as close as any recruit that I can remember in football for the longest time. He ends up at Southern California, goes out there, starts a few games, 40 tackles, started 5 games, like I said, but was out all spring. So right now in fall camp, he's still trying to get in the swing of things. He's taking reps with the ones. I think he is going to end up being that third or fourth linebacker, maybe even fifth, because this linebacker room is just freaking loaded right now. Something that Badger fans should definitely be excited for, being LBU.
We're going to hear some of their names, I'm positive, in the next segments.
Exactly. And just to go down the line here, we brought another linebacker, Sebastian Cheeks, another highly touted recruit from the previous regime as well. So if any Badger fans are familiar with the whole recruiting landscape, this was a name that was initially almost recruited to us in the first place. He comes from North Carolina. We got Mr. Jackson McGowan, an LSU transfer from Ohio originally. So the Fickle staff, previous staff there at Cincy was recruiting him. So they're very familiar with his skill set. He's a hybrid tight end. So I don't know if we're going to see him necessarily blocking so much, but he's going to be out in space quite a bit. And then to finish up here, a couple receivers that we brought in. Joseph Griffin Jr., receiver from Boston College. He's got a little bit of a background here, but he's a big body receiver that the staff brought in. We'll see if he can crack that, top 6, top 7, I would say, going into the year. We got Tyrell Henry, who I think is going to be more so of a punt return guy from Michigan State. He's a junior or a senior, I believe. And then, unfortunately, we did bring in one O-line transfer, Leighton Nelson from Vanderbilt. He was under the previous regime with Coach Blas. Unfortunately, he did suffer a season-ending injury in the spring, so we're not going to see him this year, but we do get him for 2 more years after that. So,
I like it. Nicely done.
All right, so Jake, give me your thoughts. Let's just go through the offensive guys first, and I'll mention anything that Mike missed, which is not much from my notes. But Jake, I'll let you give what you got left, and if there's any meat left on the bone, I'll pick it off.
Yeah. So first thing about Tyler Van Dyke, immediately when he signed, I was like, all right, I gotta see what we're getting here. So I started watching highlights. I start reading about him, articles that were written about him. I watch more highlights, and I'm like, you know what I like about this guy? He's got touch on the deep ball. Yep. What did we not have last year? We had so many opportunities that were missed, and that was what was missing from the offense, is we needed somebody to stretch the defense to keep them honest. Yep. As the year went on, it was getting tougher and tougher, and obviously you can go look at our stats last year. Will Pauling had so many receptions, 2-3 yards past the line of scrimmage or even at or behind the line of scrimmage, and it was like, we can't live like this. Yeah, Braylon Allen has nowhere to run. We're trying to spread him out, and we're just throwing it, and he's getting tackled immediately. We have to be able to stretch them deep, right? And that's what Van Dyke's going to bring. He's a big, strong kid. So really looking forward to that. He was also one of, I believe it was it 13 Badgers that were named to Senior Bowl watch. Yep. So Tyler and I will be there this year. I told my boss, I said, listen, guy, you're going to have to survive without me for a week. I will not be here. You can pay me or not. I don't care. So I will be there. But we get into more recruits. You brought up Tyrell Henry. I think that's a little underrated signing. He's got some speed. That is not a spoiler alert. He is not going to be on my list. I just think that's underrated signing. Tawani Walker, though, dude. He is about to become my favorite player so fast. I see the highlights of him just freaking abusing human beings, and I'm like, yeah, I'm about to love this fucking guy, aren't I? I'm going to love watching him abuse Alabama on the 14th. That's what I'm going to say right now. I'm going to say that right now.
I think that's going to end up being a Patreon watch party.
That's going to be a really fun game. Yeah, so then, I mean, you got, like you said, Joseph Griffin Jr., we got Jackson McGowan. I'm actually pretty excited about him. The tight end room for the last couple of years has kind of been, since Ferguson really left, has kind of been right?
That's fair.
It and I'm not trying to like throw shade, but like Tyler said, we've been called homers, and I'm just trying to keep it real. They've been I would like them to have a little bit of juice. Jackson is an athletic kid from everything that I've seen, everything that I've read. So hopefully he can bring the juice that they need. So that's what I think about offense. So we can go to defense when you're ready, Tyler.
So a couple of things that I wanted to throw out on Tyler Van Dyke. He's 6'4", 225. So he's big.
Yep.
And then you talk about having a good deep ball and touch on the deep ball. Honestly, he just makes me think of Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
That's just really what I thought about. And Mike mentioned they're looking to get the 2021 form out of him. The offensive coordinator that he had in 2021 went to become the head coach at SMU. So if he's got good offensive coaching, he's capable of being a good offensive quarterback.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing if Longo and Fickle can get that out of him.
Mm-hmm.
On the other thing I'll throw out there, Mabry Matoyer is an incoming freshman. We have a couple freshman running backs coming in as well. Just something to keep an eye on. And Darion Dupree is one of them. I'm drawing a blank on what the other one's name is right now. It's
Dylan Jones.
Jones, that's what it is. Dylan Jones. I knew it was Dylan, and I had the J.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I was thinking Johnson. I think that was an NBA draft prospect. Getting on a tangent. Okay. Tally Walker. Tally Walker is – I'm so excited. Mike mentioned the 513 yards and the 10 touchdowns. He also had 10 receptions for 81 yards.
Uh-huh.
So he averaged 5.83 yards per carry, 8.1 yards per reception, averaged out to 5.3 yards per touch.
Uh-huh.
He is a broken tackle machine. He is not fast, but he is patient, and he is hard to get down.
Tell you what, them safeties aren't going to want to tackle him. Tell you what, right now. Hell no.
When Mike said lightning and thunder with Malusi and Walker, it's a 1A, 1B situation. I'm very excited to watch them. Mm-hmm. You mentioned McGowan being previously recruited by Fickle in Cincinnati. Tyrell Henry from Michigan State was also previously recruited by Fickle in Cincinnati.
Yep.
Joseph Griffin, his 2 years at Boston College, he's going to be another guy where they're going to try to get some of his earlier production out of him. But in his 2 years at Boston College, 43 catches, 579 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So, nothing to slouch at. And they did have one other offensive lineman they added. Joey Okla, they transferred from Illinois to Wisconsin. He's actually from Wisconsin originally. So they brought him guy back.
Yeah.
Okay. Jake, anything you want to add on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, Sebastian Cheeks, great name. Okay, just what a name, dude. Awesome. Hopefully, he's putting a lot of people on their cheeks. Yeah, sorry, I have to.
It's gonna happen.
The linebacker room is, and I'm talking outside, inside, is by far the most improved position group on this Badgers roster.
Low key, kind of loaded,
and rightfully so. The Badgers they were kind of decimated last year because they've been putting so many people in the damn NFL.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we were like, yeah, we're busy making sure everybody plays on Sundays. And now we have nobody left. So no disrespect to anybody last year. But yeah, they went to work. Leon Lowry, like you said, that's gonna be a crazy signing. I think he looks like a freaking man amongst boys. Jaheim Thomas, that guy just. When I watch him, it might be the number 7, but I think of Quay Walker. I'm not going to do. Big, tall, athletic guy, just running faster than a goddamn gazelle. And I'm like, bro, that guy's going to be fun to watch. Watching him chase down a running back on a 3rd and 6 for a 2-yard gain, that's going to be fucking awesome. Oh, yeah, I'm starting to get excited. So I'm starting to cuss. I apologize.
I love it.
That's how you know my heart started to pump. Elijah Hills is a guy that we signed. He'll probably just be a depth guy, but you need depth, man. We talk about that in every sport, right?
Yep.
RJ Delancey, that's a really good signing. That one's going to be a little bit underrated, in my opinion. That's the guy where I put a star next to him. I'm like, I'm going to watch that one. He looks like he's going to be starting opposite of Hallman from everything that I've read. Tackett Curtis, though. That guy he's a super athlete, dude. I think people really don't understand how good of an athlete he is in the middle.
Yeah.
And he could be the guy that if he hits his potential, he could take away the middle of the field in the pass game. And he's also not afraid to stick his nose in there. So that was an underrated move where he could turn into like Big Ten, first team all Big Ten, in my opinion. That's part of his ceiling. But John Pius, man, he's going to be tremendous. Leon Lowry and John Pius together as a duo is going to be really, really nice for this team. Last year on defense, just like on offense, the offense was missing the deep ball. On defense, we were missing the juice up front to attack opposing quarterbacks. The two things you need a quarterback, and then you need to be able to attack the other team's quarterback. The Badgers are missing that last year, and they still made a bowl game, and we're over 500. So let that sink in for how talented this roster is. Now they added both those things. On paper, it looks like right now, the options are endless, dude. This team could go crazy. They're a little bit underrated.
It's like 1As and 1Bs. Like that's what the staff preached in the offseason, rather than having the 1s and 2s, right? We need 1As and 1Bs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mentioned it before. I mean, it was more so of 1s and 2s last year, especially because we had, like I said, CJ can't be playing. We can't have a guy like CJ Getz playing every damn snap, right?
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we can bring in some dudes that can even, 10 snaps. You know what I mean? This staff feels like there's definitely more juice, kind of like what Jake said. I mean, seriously, you got Lowry, now you got Daryl Peterson, and you got John Pius now, 3-man wrecking crew. I didn't even talk about Aaron Witt yet, or the 2 freshmen that are making plays in practice right now, Lafayette and Thomas Heiberger. Unfortunately, he got hurt.
Yeah.
But Ernest Willard Jr. just moved to outside linebacker, and they're already loving how the progress is with going there. But point being, 1As, 1Bs. Tressel's already said he already knows there's 5 middle linebackers who are capable of playing on Saturdays right now.
Yep.
It's fucking fantastic.
I'm super excited to talk about linebackers. Like I said, there's going to be a bunch coming up in the next couple of segments, I promise.
Yep.
So just a couple things on some of these guys. Jaheim Thomas was at Cincinnati for 3 years under Fickle before he was at Arkansas last year. And he had 90 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, and 3.5 sacks last year.
Yeah.
Dude's going to be a stud. So there's that. Next, Tackett Curtis was the number 3 linebacker in the transfer portal. Ohio State was after him, and he chose the Badgers.
Damn near everybody.
Hell yeah.
And then Brandon Lane was originally committed to Louisville, and the Badgers stole him. And Mike mentioned Leon Lowry having a bit of an interesting offseason. He was committed to the Badgers, then he wasn't, and then he was committed again. But he's here now, so we have him.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. And then RJ Delancey, the cornerback that Jake mentioned, he came from Toledo.
Yep.
So he was playing alongside Quinyon Mitchell last year, who was a second-round pick. Actually, no, he was a first-round pick. Quinyon Mitchell was a first-round pick.
He was a first-round pick. He's playing next to another first-round corner this year, so good for him.
There you go.
Exactly.
That's not even a bold prediction. I really feel like that.
I don't know if he's going to go first round, but if
he has back-to-back years like that, he's going first round.
Yeah, he might.
He had a crazy passer rating, bro.
He was so good last year. I'm so happy we got to have him on the show.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so we can run through the departures really quick. You guys can let me know if there's anything you want to say on any of these guys. But looking at transfers, Caden Johnson went to Nevada. TJ Ballers went to Cal. Gio Paez went to LSU. Michael Mack went to Ohio. Mike Jarvis and Aiden Vaughn went to Liberty. Rodis Johnson went to Texas A&M. Jordan Turner went to Michigan State. He's from Michigan, so that kind of makes sense. Darian Varner went to Cincinnati. Nick Evers went to UConn. Dylan Barrett went to Iowa State. Trey Wettig went to Indiana. Skylar Bell went to UConn. He's from Connecticut, so that made sense. Nolan Rucci went to Penn State. He's from Pennsylvania, so that made sense. Miles Burkett went to Albany, where he was named the starting quarterback today, so good for Miles Burkett.
Yeah.
Chimere Dike went to Florida, joining Graham Mertz. The best season that he had in his collegiate career was with Mertz, so that makes sense for him to try to replicate that to see if he can get to the NFL. And then Keontae Lewis went to Louisiana Tech. Other than that, Tanner Bortolini and Braylon Allen got drafted. Peter Bowden, Moma Njongmeta, Jason Matrian, Hayden Rucci, and Tanner Mordecai have been on NFL rosters as undrafted free agents. Tanner Mordecai was also a first-round pick in the UFL draft, so we'll see where he ends up, if he can make an NFL roster. If not, if some of these guys will be playing in the what is it now, the UFL, the XFL, whatever, the USFL, and the XFL made the UFL, whatever they made.
Yeah.
The other FL.
It's that football you put on.
Those are the Badgers' departures. So, Jake, Mike, I don't know if there's anything you want to throw out on any of those guys.
Well, I'm gonna throw a zinger out real quick. Hold on, I'm gonna throw a zinger out real quick. The USFL is like the women's basketball of football. Sorry, it's what you put on when you have nothing else to put on.
Gotcha.
My dad said the other FL. Yeah, the other FL. Yep.
I just want to say about Jordan Turner. He was named a team captain at Michigan State, so I think he's actually going to succeed there. He's going to be pretty good there.
I would be happy for him. Like, he had some off the field stuff at the beginning of last year, so if he can kind of turn that around and obviously be better for himself, I would be happy for him.
Yeah, and I was cheering for Nick Evers for a little bit. I hope that he succeeds with Skylar Bell at UConn, so I think that would be pretty fun to watch from afar.
Yeah,
but that's all I care about.
I was just going to say. I think the biggest I'm just thinking from like a program perspective. I think the guy that we are going to miss the most is Trey Wettig, who went to Indiana. Just looking at this, and the reason why I say that is because we have a great first team offensive line. One of my biggest concerns is going to be the depth. If we can't stay healthy, I'm very concerned about the depth. We got, and not to take anything away from some of these freshmen at all. We're going to be talking about them. I don't necessarily like having like true freshmen in the 2 deep, and a couple of which literally just got here like 2 months ago, right? Trey Wettig just brought like 3 years of experience. It would have just been nice to have that depth piece. And we did lose Leighton Nelson already too. I know he was probably supposed to be that guy. We do have Bo Benchwall, who's going to be a backup guard for us, but just from a depth perspective, I think he's going to end up he's probably our biggest loss out of this group, just from a program perspective. Going to miss him.
I was kind of okay with it just because he got on my shit list a little bit last year.
Yeah. He would have been a depth piece. Yeah, that's what
swing tackle. I understand where you're going with that.
Yeah.
All right. You guys ready to discuss some players here?
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna do our break. We have breakouts, freshmen, and dark horses. Where do we want to start? Do we maybe want to start with freshmen and we'll go to breakouts, and then we'll go to the dark horses and end on the exciting one, and then let Mike talk about 2025, and then we'll get out of here.
Let's do it. That sounds like a great game plan.
All right, Mike, give me your freshman to watch on offense.
On offense? Okay. Well, kind of went a couple ways with this. It was tough. I mean, we got some dudes.
You only get one.
We got Darian Dupree. I got to go Darian Dupree. It's really interesting. I mean, yes, he was recruited as a running back. But, in fall camp, it was really interesting. They used him not just at running back. They put him in the slot a couple of times. They used him on kickoff. They tried him at punt return. This dude was used everywhere. So in terms of getting on the field, this dude's getting on the field this year. It might be for 5 snaps. You might see him on TV. Maybe he's out there for 10 to 15. It's probably not going to be at the running back spot as much as maybe some fans would hope, because I love the 1-2. I personally love the 1-2 punch that we already have. But there is so much talent in this room. I think this guy's too good to not keep off the field. He's going to find his way on the field somehow. Whether he's out there for a couple random plays, or if he's taking kickoffs, or lining up in the freaking slot, like I just said. Towards the end of fall camp, you kept hearing his name like pop up, like breaking tackles, running for touchdowns, getting out in space, which this staff is doing a really good job just as a whole, finding those athletes on both sides of the ball, to be quite honest. So very excited for Darian Dupree. Happy he's a Badger, that's for sure.
All right, Jake, who's your offensive freshman to watch?
So the guy that I'm watching was a 4-star composite, had a 4-star status. He was the number 6 running back in the 2024, according to ESPN. And he wrestled and ran track in high school, which is a crazy combo for a guy who's going to be a running back. I went with Dylan Jones, and man, this kid, he said his favorite Badger of all time is Jonathan Taylor, which obviously pulls at the heartstrings right away, especially when you're in the running back room. Because if he turns anything like Jonathan Taylor, we're in good hands. I like his size. He's 6 feet tall. I like his speed. I like his physicality. He was a 4-star for a reason, in my opinion. But having the wrestling background, to me, shows that he's not afraid of the contact. And I just think that when I think of the running back room, I'm going to echo something that Mike said, that I do really like our top 2. But after that, Aker, Yakimelli, it's kind of a toss-up there. Dylan Jones could steal some carries, in my opinion. So I would love to see Dylan Jones. Also, he went to a great high school name, Our Lady of Good Counsel. That's a crazy name for a high school. So I'm just cheering for Dylan Jones. I think he's going to be fantastic.
So I went kind of basic. I'm not even going to lie to you. I have Mabry Matoyer on my freshman to watch list. Now, it's not because I'm like, oh my God, like what if he plays like in the regular season? Like I'm not expecting it to get to that point. Mm-hmm. But the reason I'm going to be paying attention to Mabry Matoyer this fall and as we get into the season is if he can challenge Braden Locke for the backup position at any point during this season.
Interesting.
Because what that to me means is that there is going to be a battle in 2025 in the spring for who's going to start in the fall of 2025. So I'm getting a little bit ahead of the skis as far as a freshman to watch, because I'm watching the backup quarterback position to see if a freshman can start to take some of those snaps because of the implications it'll have on next year.
Okay.
All right, Mike, who's your defensive freshman to watch?
It's Xavier Lucas. It's Xavier Lucas for sure. This is just another – I applaud this staff. I think they've hit on so many of these freshmen, I think, so far. And I'm just going off of camp. I know you got to see it on the field. But it's Xavier Lucas, 6'1", 185-pound cornerback from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, from a powerhouse high school, actually, one of the best high schools in the country, American Heritage High School. A lot of D1 players have come out of there yearly. This dude ran a 10.6 900-meter dash.
Yeah, that's nuts.
10.6 How the hell he got – Rico said this too, and I agree with him. How the hell this guy got out of the state of Florida up to Wisconsin is beyond crazy. Every school freaking offered him too. Florida State and Miami were obviously in the Final 3, but you name the school, like they offered him. We're talking, Bama, LSU, Georgia, Penn State, Michigan, all of them that you can think of. And at the end of the day, it was Florida State and Miami. Miami gave the whole kitchen sink. The Badgers got in early. That's what the Badgers do a decent job, whether it's football or even basketball too. If we can identify a kid early, sometimes that just benefits the hell out of us. That was Graham Mertz. I know he's transferred and everything, but that's just a prime example. We caught the kid early in his recruitment. That's what this was. And there was an article that literally just came out today that Evan Flood wrote about him. When Miami was making their last ditch effort to try and get the kid on campus again. And Xavier Lucas's dad just flat out said he already made a commitment to Coach Fick. I know this kid, he's not gonna budge. So that was cool to hear. But in camp recently, I think it was about a week ago, Jim Tressel was talking about him. And it's really interesting because when you hear him talk about a true freshman like this, he goes, A, he's long, B, he's fast, but he's also very consistent. Now, when you hear that in a college game as a true freshman, that just makes you, get really, really excited. So I think the way it's going right now, you might see him crack the 2 deep this year. And we are absolutely loaded at corner. Yep. It's crazy. Everybody, he is the talk of camp for young guys right now. And I know there's a lot of them, but I think Xavier Lucas might be one, if not two. And this kid just got here like 2 months ago. So Xavier Lucas for sure is my number one on defense. There's a few I know, but I had to go with him.
I love that pick. He also has a good. What I read about him was that he's good in man and in zone, and he's good against the run.
Yeah.
So I really think you're nailing the nail on the head with Xavier Lucas. I think that's a fantastic pick.
Yeah.
Jake, who's your defensive guy?
Yeah. So this guy, 6'4", by the way, big guy.
Ah,
He has a great head of lettuce. Really, really unique sport background for him.
yeah.
Basketball, swimming, dance. He made 79 tackles and 4 pass breakups in 2023. He had 2 touchdowns on offense, 68 tackles, and tallied 2 pick sixes in 2022. Of course, I'm talking about Raphael Dunn. I mean, what a fucking name, bro.
Great pick. 6'4", 200 pounds at safety.
Yeah, dude. You want to talk about range? Okay. This guy checked every box for me.
On paper, he's Kyle Hamilton.
Dude, seriously. He has a great name for a safety. Like, he's gonna knock the pass down. You'd be like, yeah, you're done. To go along with a great first name, Raphael, dude, great name. Great head of lettuce, 6'4", can run like the wind. I mean, when I was going through the freshman list, I was like, yep, don't need to go any further. This is the guy. I didn't even read a thing about him. I was like, I'm done. It's him. Thank you for congratulating me, by the way. I was very happy with this pick.
That is a great pick. And to be clear, I wrote 3 guys down because I figured that we'd get to a point where these guys were going to be the 3. And the 3 that I wrote down were Xavier Lucas, Raphael Dunn, and the third one I wrote down was Emilio Agard.
Yeah.
He's a 5'10", 163-pound corner. He's a little undersized, potentially, but he was the highest-rated cornerback recruit in Wisconsin history in the Rivals era.
Holy shit.
He had 20 pass breakups and 3 interceptions last year.
That's an ungodly high number for pass breakups.
It's an insanely high number. Like, that dude is the definition of the seatbelt.
Yeah.
So I wanted to throw him out there as the potential third one because Xavier Lucas and Raphael Dunn are the absolute 2 front runners.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to some breakout candidates. I am super excited to get to these. Mike, give me your offensive breakout candidate.
Oh, man, we talked about him, but I think it's so true because of how well he's looked in fall camp. It's Tawee Walker. It really is.
Great pick.
And I don't think, I mean, at the end of the day, with having a loaded running back room that we do, every single one of those guys is giving it right now. I mean, we talked about him. Ches is going to be Ches. I have no doubt about that. We talked about the 2 freshmen. Jackson Aker, I think he's going to end up lining up in like the H-back role or fullback position, or if they do fullback, or even tight end at times, I've heard. And you got Cade Yacomelli, who we haven't hardly talked about, who looked good last year against LSU and Minnesota. So, I mean, this room is just like really, really good. And I think
back to RBU.
Yeah, we're back to RBU. Absolutely. So, he's supposed to be complimentary to Ches, but honestly, after fall camp, I could 100% see him end up starting eventually, like being the first guy out there. But again, it's 1A and 1B in my view.
Completely matchup dependent.
Yeah, I mean, stocky, 5'9", 218 pounds. Guy can get out in space, clearly. Absolutely loves contact, what we talked about as well. He's going to run dudes over. I mean, there's that play with Rico. There was a clip when he ran over Tackett Curtis as well and put him on his butt, which is just nuts in general. No, I think this is the key. I mean, I don't see us. We might be the air raid offense, but I could honestly see us running the ball more this year than pass at the end of the day. And I'm not kidding when I say that. I mean, last year we had Ches and Braylon, and we didn't know really what else was after that. It did Jackson and Cade at least pass halfway through the season before they could get their feet wet, right? So I just love the talent in this room. That's going to bring out the best in everybody. And I think Tawee Walker he's arguably the MVP of fall camp as well, in my view, based off of everything that I heard. And I am so excited to watch him. And I think he's going to be a huge, huge part of what we do this year.
I like that pick a lot. Jake, who is your offensive breakout candidate?
Yeah, so I originally had Walker written down, but I was like, we can't all pick Walker because we're all going to be in love with Walker.
Oh, I've got a different guy.
I did pivot, but the one thing that I'm going to say that you didn't say, in my opinion, about Walker is that he's going to be a freaking first down machine.
Yeah.
He is going to be a goddamn chain mover.
3rd and 1, 2nd and 1. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be a chain mover for us. But the guy I went with was Tyler Van Dyke. I mean, we're playing football, right? Quarterback's pretty important in football. He's one of the 2 people that touches the ball every single play. And he kind of gets to decide how the distribution goes. I talked a little bit earlier about his deep ball. I think that he's going to be fantastic with that. We got a lot of options, and I think if him and Will Pauling are on a good page to start this year, we're about to have some heads rolling.
I want to pair yours with mine. My offensive breakout candidate, I've basically had him penned in since the LSU game. It's Trutch Kekahuna.
Oh, yeah.
I
knew that was going to be Tyler's pick.
Oh, my God, dude. His speed is going to play in such a major way. And if you have a dude you can put on the outside, say run fast that way, and Tyler Van Dyke's going to launch you the ball, oh, my God, I cannot wait. Dude, he's got like any kind of speed you want to call it. You want to call it game-breaking speed. He's got like superstar speed. Dude, Trutch Kekahuna is going to be a monster.
Oh.
Fully believe it that he is going to be an absolute monster for the Badgers at wide receiver.
I just want him on the field. I want him and Will Pauling on the field as much as possible.
Yep.
I know it's 2 slot guys, but you put your best players out there at the end of the day.
Yep.
Tretch was talked about quite a bit too in fall camp, and like how much he got open too, like how much he wide open.
Oh, I do. I lashed on the Trutch Kekahuna.
And that's against a defense that I have big expectations for as well. So hearing that, how much he's gotten open, it could be a fun year.
I cannot wait for game 1. Like we have a watch party for the August 30th game. Like I'm going to be watching him everywhere he goes. I cannot wait to watch Trutch Kekahuna this season.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to defense. Mike, who is your defensive breakout candidate?
It's Jaheim Thomas. It is. I'm going transfers. We already talked about it. He's been at Cincy under this staff for 2-3 seasons, right? And he had a baller year at Arkansas last year, 180 total tackles altogether or whatever. So I just love the fact that he's got the familiarity. He's going to be lining up in space everywhere. Fans are going to get to know him very quickly when he's out there, I think. And he was one of those guys that was, again, consistent in fall camp. Like, if he wasn't mentioned every single day, he was mentioned a couple times a week with how good he was looking. So, versatile. May see it. You may even see him at outside linebacker at times too. So you can get Jake Chaney and bring in Attack Curtis maybe a couple plays too, or a Christian Allegro.
Spoiler alert!
It's Jaheim Thomas. I'm excited to see what he can do. I know you guys, who my boy is on this defense overall, but I had to give somebody else some love today. So,
Jake, who's your defensive breakout candidate?
So I mentioned him before. I'm going to say him again. It's John Pius. Guy has 18.5 career sacks, which is a lot in college, by the way.
Yep.
Over the last 2 years, 9.5 and then 9. He has 115 total tackles. That's according to ESPN, by the way, so don't kill me. I wrote down here, I said it before, Leon Lowry and John Pius are the juice that this defense needs at the pass rush. I go back to 2019 with the Green Bay Packers. They signed 2 free agents. They signed a Preston Smith. They signed a Zadarius Smith. They took it very seriously that they needed pass rushers. So did the Badgers. They brought in a Pius and they brought in a Leon Lowry. I view this as the same way that the Packers did in 2019. It's going to be hopefully it's the same result. We win a lot of games.
I like that. I took a route, whereas like 2 years ago, I found a guy that I liked how he improved throughout the season. And the next season, I latched on and I'm like, this is the guy that I think can break out. And that guy was CJ Getz. So it was during the 2022 season, and I'm like in the middle of the season, he started to really improve. And then 2023, I was like, here we are, and he was a staple for the Badgers defense. Last year, throughout the middle of the season, I started to see this linebacker improving, and now I'm going to pick him to be a breakout candidate this year, and it is Jake Chaney. I think he improved the most throughout the 2023 season for the Badgers defense. Obviously, Ricardo Hallman and Hunter Waller are studs. But if we're talking from the beginning of the season to the end, I think Jake Chaney is the player that improved the most throughout the season.
New number, new me, right?
And he went to a single-digit number linebacker. Hell yeah!
You better
captain.
be good.
He's a captain too. The staff is highly regarded. He's very highly regarded. I can tell you that right now.
Yep.
And I mean, if we're going to be honest, he's one of the 3 starters that stuck around from last season too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Muma's in the NFL, that's fine, but Jordan Turner. But yeah, he's still around, and the staff raves about him. And very high character guy. He knows what he's doing out there. So no, that was a great pick. I'm kind of jealous. I didn't think of him.
Yep. I had both of these guys in mind since like the end of last season, and I'm like, I know who I'm picking to break out.
Yeah.
Okay. Dark horses. This might be the segment that I'm the most excited for, is our dark horses. So
always is the best part.
Mike, give me your dark horse candidate on offense.
Being an old lineman, growing up, I felt like I had to give one of the big boys a shout out. I got Mr. Jake Renfro as my dark horse.
I like it. I like it.
And you picked your old position. You dirty dog.
Exactly.
I like it.
Now, why would Mike say that? Why? Let's think about this for a second.
Why would Mike refer to himself in the third person? I can't wait to find out.
How many times in this chat last year did we talk about that shotgun snap? It was filthy.
Yeah.
It was dirty. It was not where Tanner should. Didn't want to drop name. It's not where Tanner should have been playing last year. But we had guys that were hurt, right?
Yep.
So it's Jake Renfro. I mean, we saw in the LSU game. As soon as he makes his first start, those snaps were clean as hell. Tanner ended up having a few more seconds to throw the ball, clean pocket. What happens? Tanner has his best game of the year. Mordecai has his best game of the year, not even close. Over 300 yards passing. Everyone's getting the ball. Everyone's happy. And the snap is clean. It's just a clean, direct snap to you. No one's hiking over the head. No one's lobbing it to you. I'm excited to see where this goes. Jake Renfro is a former all-conference O-lineman at Cincinnati. When the year he made it, they made the college football playoff, right? So if he stays healthy, everything's going to run smooth. I know the ending result's might not be where we want to see it, but at least from the start of the snap, the projection's going to be better. The timing's going to be better. I think that is just going to play a major, major key this whole year. And I'm praying to God he stays healthy, because as of right now, I am not sure. Until they release the 2 deep, I'm not exactly sure who's going to be the backup center. Knock on wood, should he go down. But I'm excited to see what he can do, having a full offseason to, recover, I guess, coming back from the LSU game. But, if he stays healthy, we play clean off of the clean snaps there. I think that goes a long way with our success on offense.
I like that. Jake, who's your offensive dark horse?
Okay, so if Mike's dark horse snaps it good to my breakout player, he can have a good pass to my breakout player, who is Quincy Burrows, another guy from Cincinnati. This offense really, really misses a true X wide receiver. That's where Green was last year. He was the guy that was asked to win a lot of one-on-one situations. And I'm not going to say that he failed. I'm saying that he definitely has some room for improvement. But
I think he's a little underrated even.
He is a little underrated. But I think Quincy Burrows, who's another big body guy, he's a very fluid athlete. I really like the athleticism that this guy has at his size. He's a guy that can win one-on-one situations when asked to. And Van Dyke's we're going to play a bunch of wide receivers just with the offense that we play. So Burrows is going to, he's going to get on the field. So if he shows it that he can win one-on-one situations when Van Dyke calls his number, I can see him as a breakout candidate or dark horse candidate. Excuse me.
So I yelled spoiler alert right after Jake said the Badgers are going to play a whole bunch of wide receivers. My dark horse is also a wide receiver, and it's another transfer. Whereas Quincy Burrows transferred in last year, mine transferred in this year, and it's Joseph Griffin Jr. Now, I mentioned when I brought him in that he had the 6 touchdowns in his 2 seasons at Boston College. In his freshman year, he had 5 of them. So in his sophomore year, he had 25 receptions and 1 touchdown. His freshman year, he had 18 receptions and 5 of them were touchdowns.
That's a good percentage.
Almost a third of his receptions were touchdowns in his freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
So he also averages in his career 13.5 yards per reception. So again, if we're talking about Tyler Van Dyke being a guy who can have the deep ball, having a guy with a high yards per reception average, I like that as a potential guy where nobody's really talking about him.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned him as an addition of a transfer in, but his 18 receptions, 5 of them being for touchdowns, jumped off the page to me.
You know, it seems like that third receiver spot is still up for grabs as of right now. So you literally got what you guys just said. I mean, Joseph Griffin, Quincy Burrows, Chris Brooks is coming along in camp. And then we got CJ Williams. We got CJ Williams, obviously.
Yep.
So it's literally, I mean, if you want to throw Tyrell Henry in there, you could.
I mean, Bryson Green's in that group. Vinny Anthony's been doing.
Anthony, shit. So there you go. I mean,
you
we got
7 guys to be your 3 through 9 receiver.
The way it's shaping up right now, you got Will Pauling and Bryson Green as the locks.
Yeah.
That third spot, though, that's where everyone's gunning for. You're hearing different guys literally making plays every day in fall camp. Vinny Anthony, for sure. CJ Williams, Chris Brooks, a name that Badger fans probably have no clue who that is. This guy was recruited from the Paul Chryst regime, and he was out all last season, unfortunately. And then, Quincy Burrows, Joseph Griffin. I mean, we're going to be playing, you would think, you want a top 6, right, in the receiver room for sure. So It's really finding that third. Stretch would be 4. So 3, 5, 6, essentially. So like the next 3 spots, kind of. So it's going to be interesting how that really plays out and where those snaps are going to.
For sure. I'm really excited to see what happens with the wide receiver room. And I think they have a lot of options.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, give me your defensive dark horse.
So this guy was hyped up a lot in the offseason. We're talking Coach Fick has said he's had one of the best off seasons like ever out of any of the players he's coached. Coach Collins was absolutely raving about this dude. I'm going back to the cornerback position. It's going to be Mr. Nazir Forkreen as my dark horse.
I like it.
So when in the offseason, he came in initially last season in the program. He came in late at 6'2", 170. Okay. The season ends. Apparently, this is according to Coach Collins, he's up to 6'4", and he's 190 pounds.
Damn.
That's a big-ass corner.
Oh, I'm sorry. 6'1" to 6'2". My bad. Wrote that typo. 6'2", 190. He puts on 20 pounds of good weight.
The 20 pounds is nuts either way.
Yeah. And he grew an extra inch at 6'2". You hear it. Most improved player in the spring and end of last season, and even in workouts. Coach Collins raved about him and like his workouts, how serious he's taking, like his dedication to this. He's obviously going to get thrown to a lot. The starting cornerbacks, I mean, we got Rico. I think it's going to be Rico, Nazir, and that nickel corner spot, it's going to be Delancey. It's going to be Max Lofi. And I think Austin Brown might be in that conversation, but because of how good those 2 guys are playing, I think he's getting moved back to safety starter.
I was going to say I viewed him more as a safety
because he was doing nickel. He was doing nickel slot in that game against LSU, so that's why I wanted to bring him up. But I do think Nazir Forkreen ends up being the other corner opposite Rico. Personally, he's going to get thrown to a lot this year, and depending, how he reacts and how he adjusts. If he can put together a good season, this defense is going to be even more elite than what I think it already is capable of, So, I mean, obviously Rico's going to have a year. I think the slot corner spot's going to be interesting too, but I think Nazir is going to be a big key to if we can, make history on defense essentially, and create turnovers at the end of the day.
I like it. It's a good pick. Jake, who is your defensive dark horse?
All right. I was gonna go with Tackett Curtis, but I was like, you know what? That ain't dark horsey enough, guy. That ain't dark horsey enough. He's more like a medium horse. Okay. So when I think of dark horse, I think of somebody that's like, this guy may not see the field, but if he does, he could absolutely go crazy. And it's a guy who's a fan of the show, a guy who I think needs to move his position because I think he could be a freaking disgusting, middle third safety, and it's Amari Snowden. I think Amari Snowden would be a disgusting cover 3 safety. Tyler gets cut out because I said something so crazy. So this is what I think about Amari Snowden. I think so when you were talking about Fort Queen, you were like 6'4". I was like, damn, it's a big ass corner. And I was like, dude, you picked a 6'4" corner, you dumbass. But I think that his ball skills, I mean, playing baseball, obviously you learn how to track the ball. You learn how to make jumps on the ball. I believe he played basketball as well for a little bit there, but he really focused on baseball and football. I think that he'd be a tremendous cover 3 safety, and they like to bring Hunter Wohler into the box anyways. Mm-hmm. So if they just move Snowden to the other safety and just say, you use your size and you go track the ball and you don't let anything pass you, I honestly think that he would have like all Big Ten like potential. I really believe that.
He's getting reps in camp right now at both spots, safety and corner. So
yeah,
I think the jury's still kind of out on that, but
yeah,
no, I'm still excited what he can do and will do. I think ultimately for us.
He's a redshirt freshman. He came in last year. We interviewed him a couple times, but he actually has some tough news. He's playing with a heavy heart this year. So we just want to, extend our condolences. Hopefully he plays with a chip on his shoulder this year and dedicates this season to his mom, who he lost tragically. But I think that the sky's the limit for that kid. I think he's got a really bright future, and he feels like an NFL player to me when I watch him play. I'm not just saying that because he was on the show. I honestly literally feel that way about him. So Amari Snowden was my choice. Welcome back, Tyler. My news shocked you so much that I picked Amari Snowden. Who do you got for your dark horse candidate, buddy?
Just having some internet issues over here. Whatever is what it is.
They get you.
Well, I was worried because both of you guys, the way that you started off your conversations, I was like, shit, are they going to name my guy? Like, I thought I had a really good one, and I was really excited to see their reactions to my guy. The way that you guys both started off, where like Mike was like, yeah, it's a guy, that the off season they were raving about him and his teammates were talking about him. I'm like, shit, he's going to name my guy. And then Jake's talking about a guy who's like, he might not see the field a ton, but if he does, he could be really good. And, it's a guy that, wasn't enough of a dark horse. And I went with Christian Allegro.
Oh, love that.
So there's a lot of buzz about the transfer linebackers. Obviously, we've talked a bunch about Jaheim Thomas and Tackett Curtis, but I've heard a lot about Allegro from coaches and his fellow players. So as another linebacker, I wanted to throw Christian Allegro out there as a potential dark horse for the Badgers in 2024.
It's a great pick. Linebacker room's filthy, man. It's filthy.
Yes, it is. Linebacker U is back.
Yes.
All right, Mike, time to shine. We're going to give you the floor and give us the state of the 2025 recruiting class before we go.
Close my notebook now.
I'm sitting back. I'm getting comfortable.
Okay. Well, it's interesting here, right? So, Coach Fickell is actually I think I wanted to bring this quote up because it definitely plays a big part in recruiting when he was talking to the Big Ten Network staff. One of the first things he says is, I didn't recognize how strong the logo was, right? If you guys remember going into his press conference when he first got the job, what did he say? He wanted to create that 350-mile radius. Well, it definitely got outside the 350-mile radius with this class and even the last two. So, the 2025 class, I mean, we got dudes from 13 different states. That is 13, which is absolutely nuts. I would have to go. I need to go back and do a little more digging. Maybe I don't know if it's gotten closer, if we've had more than that in a recruiting class before. I would guess no. I would check even 2024 from the year before too, because the logo definitely got out of that too. But I'll give the first breakdown here. So the 2024 and 2025 classes, I broke it down in terms. I'm going to go in terms of stars, ranks, whatever. I took the On3 recruiting ranking. I took the 24/7 sports ranking, and I took Rivals. Those are the top three. ESPN, I don't really like them too much. But anyway, the 2024 average recruit after you take that all together was 21.3. Right now in 2025, it's 22.3, but I would say that could move up a little more because we have a full season of football to play with those guys. So I could definitely see that bumping up to 21, maybe even creep up in the top 20 at some point. So just to give fans some perspective, in Fickle's first two recruiting cycles, we're getting a consistent top 25 recruiting class. So I think that's something that Badger fans should take note of, and it's something that I think that would be an expectation as well, especially when you're used to doing the old timers thing with Coach Chris, Coach Bielema, Coach Alvarez, whatever. Shaking things up at the end of the day. So just getting that out there, I want to throw that out there. So in the class of 2025, we had 5 kids from the state of Wisconsin. So I know we did lose a few. I think 2 of which are going to Notre Dame, unfortunately. But we are starting to build a wall, so to speak. I think it's getting better. I'll mention the Wisco kids first. Michael Roski, he's an offensive tackle from Watoma, 6'7". I mean, this guy had offers from Notre Dame, Michigan, Kansas, Illinois. So definitely no slouch. I think he was the first of the Wisconsin recruits to commit to the staff. Cooper Catalano, linebacker from Germantown High School. For you fans out there that know where Germantown is. Offers from, again, Sparty, Iowa State, Kansas. Probably the most interesting in-state recruit from this group was Torin Petaway. Now, when I say interesting, this is a D lineman from Middleton High School. He committed to Wisconsin for a short bit, but then out of the blue, this kid commits to Minnesota of all places, and that's what happened for the next couple of months. And then all of a sudden, official visit season comes around. He snuck into the first weekend of official visits, and then he commits back to Wisconsin. So glad to have him back. That would have been one that would have stung because this is a D lineman, and the Badgers need D linemen right now. We need to build that. We need to build up that depth for sure. I mean, Torin Petaway had offers again from Minnesota, USC, Washington, Nebraska, Illinois. So definitely no slouch there. And then we got our local boy close to this area, Mr. Grant Dean. He's a safety from Neenah High School. He was more so of a sleeper. He was taking visits to Wisconsin, Minnesota. He had offers from North Dakota State, Army, kind of like the lower tier D1s. But I'm definitely excited what he can bring. I think he's just one of those sleeper in-state Wisconsin players that could turn out to be a stud. Similar to like what Jared Aberdares turned out to be. So. And then finally, the fifth guy, he's a punter actually from Milwaukee Marquette High School, Mr. Eric Schmidt. He had offers from Missouri Boston College, walk-on offers from Notre Dame, Michigan. So that was just good to see. So, and then just going back to 13 different states, we're getting recruits from all over the place. Our number one recruit, guess what state he came from, Jake? You have any idea?
We're really good at New Jersey, Hawaii. We're like awkwardly good at Pennsylvania.
It's one that you probably won't even think of.
Idaho.
Same kind of region or like same like time zone?
Wyoming?
Keep going south.
Nevada.
Southeast.
New Mexico.
Oh,
I was going to get there.
So we're LBU, right? So number one recruit in the class. This was coming straight from 247 Sports. Mason Posa, 4-star linebacker. His top 3 was Wisconsin, Oregon, and Texas A&M. And Oregon and Texas A&M, for any college football nuts out there, those 2 schools are NIL heavy, to say the least. These are schools that can literally write a check for any sort of amount of money that you want. Any additional accessorials or whatever that go along with it too. But they plucked this kid from those 2 schools. An interesting background. This guy's an all-state wrestler. I think he's only lost 1 wrestling match. So for anybody that knows anybody about Coach Fickle, he loves his wrestlers. So I think that also played a big part. Yeah, and I think that played a big part in his recruitment, I think, going into it as well. Just not even talking about football, right? Just talking about other stuff besides what goes on in the field. So, this is a huge, huge win for the staff, or LBU, continuously, I think, for the next year or so. And the expectation, I think, might be for this dude to try and crack the 2 deep as soon as he gets on campus. So that was a very, very interesting number 1 recruit for the class coming from the state of New Mexico. And I'll go down the line here. I'm going to go next with the 5 offensive linemen that were recruited under Mr. Coach Blazek, who I think was the, we have players, right? But I think this guy Coach Blazek might have been the pickup of the offseason. And he's a coach. I mean, in his first recruiting class, he brings in 5 kids in 2025, which I think is kind of not unheard of, so to speak, because you definitely need your time to establish your base. He's Midwest. This guy's Midwest by heart for sure. He played at Iowa, and coached at Winona State. But he's getting recruits like Hardy Watts, the latest 4-star O-lineman. He's from Massachusetts, right? This kid's final 3 was Wisconsin, Clemson, and Michigan. Clemson and Michigan are recent national champions, which is just crazy. We're pulling from areas that I think in years past Wisconsin might have been afraid to really push or pursue. I don't think this staff doesn't really care about that anymore. If they like somebody, they will find out. They will go after them, and they will at least make it interesting, I guess, so to speak. But Hardy Watts, 4-star lineman from Massachusetts, I think was just the cherry on top here. Just going down the line here, Logan Powell, 3rd, arguably 2nd highest recruit in this class, 4-star O-lineman from Arizona. So again, Massachusetts, Arizona, New Mexico, those are top recruits, right? I mean, Logan Powell offers from Alabama, Michigan, Oregon, Florida State. Again, it's Coach Blazek, I think, has a big part of it. And I do think Coach Collins is a big part of this too, because when you see some of these kids recruiting, committing to this class, you always see Coach Collins just pop up, and whether it's his offseason program or what he does, how he conducts things. I think Coach Collins might be even the steal of this, coaching staff altogether as well, because you always just hear him pop up here. So just going down the line, Nolan Davenport, 3-star, borderline 4-star from Ohio, plucked him from Penn State, Arkansas, Kentucky, Missouri. 5th O-lineman, I think. Cam Clark. Oh, yeah, that's right. Cam Clark, 6'7" O-lineman from Michigan. We took him away from Sparty. I think it was a couple other ones too. Kansas, Iowa, whatnot. Probably the most, and now I'm getting into the receivers, probably one of the most hyped up guys, I think. I don't want to say hype because that might be too mean, but coming into the Badgers, Mr. Eugene Hilton Jr. For any football fans out there, he is the son of Eugene Hilton. 6'2", bigger body, 6'2", 195 from the Indianapolis area, 3-star, borderline 4-star on some websites here. This dude was offered by Georgia. He was offered by Michigan, Ole Miss, Mizzou, who's coming off an 11-win season from last year. And the Badgers got him, and I think they were the most consistent throughout his whole process, I would say, from start to finish. So, point being, if the Badgers want to go after a kid, especially in these recruiting cycles, I mean, we're going to be right there, I think, at the end of the day, because we do have a lot to offer. And I think that goes back to, hiring more the recruiting staff, putting a bigger emphasis of hiring more people too, where it comes to like the director of recruiting and just hiring more assistants to go along with it. I think that's a big reason why we're getting some of these recruiting wins. I really, really think that we're putting a big emphasis. Max Steinecker, shout out to him as well.
It's happening in basketball too.
There you go. Exactly. So, whether it's in the transfer portal or just getting regular recruits in general, but we're just staying consistent, I think, on these kids just in general, because if it's not, and the head coach can't talk to you or like the main assistants, we got these other recruiting assistants that are definitely like up to speed and like, what's going on with your life? Like, how are things going? Like the stuff behind the scenes that, fans, all they see are 4 stars and that's all they care about. There's stuff that goes on behind the scenes too that we have no clue. But that's the assistant's job to like keep up with that kind of thing. So kudos to the staff. I'll just keep going down the line. I'll go quarterback. We got Mr. Landon Locke. If Locke sounds familiar to any Badger fan, this is the younger brother of Braden Locke. This is a kid who recruited super, super early. Basically, as soon as Phil Longo said, hey, come play for us, he committed on the spot. So obviously this family is a big fan of Coach Longo. He had offers from Miami, Duke, SMU as well in this process. But again, he recruited early. I don't know if many schools are necessarily knocking on the door right now with him. But he's bigger than Braden. I think he clocked him at 6'3", 6'4". And Braden, I think, is like 6 foot, 6'1" maybe. But definitely excited what he can do once he gets on campus. And then we got the cornerbacks. We got Jameer Scott, who was one of the first corners to commit one of the first commits to this class. They plucked him out of Ohio, which was interesting because Ohio State was kind of looking at him. They didn't offer him, I guess, but I mean, Miami offered this kid, Michigan, Penn State, Tennessee. Tennessee is, another solid SEC school.
Was Cincinnati pursuing him too? I thought they were.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Remington Moss actually is another cornerback / safety. Any Badger fans out there that are familiar with the Moss name, his dad also played for Wisconsin back in the day. Brent Moss, he was a running back. So if anybody, that sounds familiar. This kid had over 28 offers, and I know it might be a little Badger bias, so to speak, because his dad played there. But again, 28 offers: Notre Dame, Ole Miss, Penn State, Tennessee, USC, just nuts. And 6'1", 6'2", and Jameer Scott 6'1", and this third cornerback, Jameer Washington from Illinois. He was kind of a late addition. He had offers from Sparty, Kansas State, Iowa State. The common theme here is these dudes are big. Jameer Washington he might seem not quite polished yet, but he's 6'2". So there's a common theme in this, these recruiting cycles, right? And I think it not just to be said for the secondary, but just in general, this staff is very familiar, is very similar to, I think, our previous staff, where we have no problem taking these balls of clay and literally, coaching them up for 3 to 4 years. The difference is, I think this staff is really good at identifying or getting these athletes that are a little bigger and athletic. That's the difference between the two, because, we talked about this when Wisconsin goes and plays in Ohio State, and now soon to be a team like Oregon, right, where they're going to spread us out. We just haven't been that good on the athleticism side of things. That's in the linebacker room, that's in the safety room, that's in the corner room, that's all the way around. So I think this is the staff's attempt to get closer to where we want to be in the
cornerback view.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell you what, we're bringing in some dudes. I mean, we are bringing in some dudes. I think this is the first time in a long time where I'm actually confident going into this year. I'm not throwing any shade at the D-line here, but I'm actually more confident in our quarterbacks than our defensive line going into this year, which that's unheard of with me.
Weird to say.
Yeah, exactly.
At Wisconsin, that's weird. Yeah.
Just to give you some perspective of that. So, and another receiver I wanted to bring up. This is going to be our next slot guy in line. Hopefully, the next Will Pauling. 4-star receiver, Cam Miller. He had offers from everywhere. Again, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State. I think this Wisconsin staff, I mean, all they got to do, you throw on the film of Will Pauling, and they're just like, hey, this could be you in the slot in a couple years. Come get how many catches did he have last year? I don't remember. It was it like 70? 74 maybe? But I think at the end of the day, I think the Badgers are going to, for a long time, as long as Phil Longo's here, as long as we have this offense, they're going to have zero issue bringing on a slot receiver. And I think case in point with Cam Miller, because he had literally offers from everywhere. So I guess one more, I'll bring up one more recruit that I actually, because it's an interesting story. Nicholas Clayton, he's an edge rusher from the state of Florida, specifically from Gainesville, Florida. Where's Gainesville? That's where the University of Florida is. Basically, in this recruitment, it came down to us and Florida State ultimately. I went back to this earlier. The Badgers, this is one of those recruits where Coach Matt Mitchell, outside linebackers coach, identified him early, got him on campus. I think it was at least twice before Florida State comes around and just says, hey, we actually want you. We're going to give you a scholarship. Here you go. So we're really good at relationship building, this staff, going back to it, whether it's the coaches, whether it's the recruiting staff in general. The staff has done a really good job just building relationships with some of these kids out of state, which is vital because we can't go and bring in 20 kids from the state of Wisconsin, right? We definitely have to branch out. And this is just one of those prime examples of relationship building. I mean, he had offers from, Florida State, Nebraska, USC, I believe were in his top 4 ultimately. But, at the end of the day, I'm very excited about what the staff can bring in. Consistently top 20 to top 25, at least as of right now, with the opportunity to, creep into that. So I am, very excited about the future. As I said before, I think Coach Blazik is the steal of the century with recruiting. Hopefully he can that shows up on the field ultimately at the end of the day. But couldn't be more excited for this staff. Going forward, couldn't be more excited for this program going forward in terms of stars, just in terms of like how they're coming in, because we're seeing in fall camp now with how many freshmen that seem to be ready to play. If we're going to be on that path for the next couple of years, this is where it gets very interesting, I think, going forward, because occasionally we're going to get some of those freshmen. They're going to get into that too deep, and then the competition really starts, right? That's where you're going to see some of those older guys step up in practice and hopefully, improve their game on the field. So couldn't be more excited going forward. I think the Badgers are in a good spot from a recruiting standpoint. I think it's only going to get better. I think this staff has a good vision for these recruits that do come in as well. So that's what I will say to this. And I can't wait. I really can't wait. Recruiting's looking promising. And, plucking again from 13 different states, that's hell of impressive by this staff, considering we're playing in the Midwest, considering we're playing in wintertime, right? Because that seemed to always be a knock. But I like to always say, hey, you want to go to the NFL? You got to play in all the elements, man, at the end of the day. So, and it also helps be the number 1 college town in America. So
that does help. I was going to say, you kind of tiptoed right around something that I was going to say as a takeaway is a big complaint about Wisconsin's football, program is people complaining that the Badgers don't put a ton of guys in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I think your analysis on the cornerback room really gives me some belief that they're kind of moving towards that a little bit, towards where they're having those bigger, 6'1", 6'2" corners, 6-foot corners versus the 5'9", 5'10" corners.
Yeah.
So that exactly. I kind of feel that. And then on the subject of relationship building, when you were talking about that, all it was making me think of was the quote that we shared from Pat Murphy earlier, where he said it's about people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that we on Wisco Fanatics have banged the drum on 10,000 times, is that the biggest advantage that we have as a quote unquote small market It's a little bit different, obviously, the landscape in college football, but even still, we don't have the NIL of Oregon and Texas A&M, to use those two examples again. People are an advantage.
Yeah. And I really think I was going to bring this up too. I think Evan Flood does a really good job on this 247 Sports Reporter. He likes to write articles like once the kids commit, he reaches out to the parents and just gets the parents' perspective on like that sort of thing. Like what went into like why Wisconsin, like from the parent standpoint, relationships, like it's crazy. I mean, that's what it is. For my sales job, it's about relationships, right? So I think at the end of the day, relationship builder, I think that's how this staff is going to win over these powerhouse schools, which we have no problem. Clearly, we have no problem competing with to get some of these guys. So if you identify the kids early, you get them out. I think the Wisconsin blueprint is if you can identify kids early and you get them on campus, we're going to be in there until the end, because I think our campus is one in a few across the whole country. I think we have a lot to offer from an education perspective as well. I know for a fact Hardy Watts, that old lineman that I mentioned before, he talked about Wisconsin's education. He's a 4.0 student going into this recruitment. His education was a big part of it. So, that's just a huge piece of it. Again, the college town in general. I preached about that on here before. Not that I'm biased or anything, but
I love Madison. I don't care what anybody says. Madison
we just have a lot to offer, I think, versus a lot of schools. Yes, they have a lot of money. Yes, would it get in my head as a kid? Hell yeah, it would. But just in terms of long term, like the long term too. Hypothetically, the kid doesn't make the NFL. We want him to be set up for success in the long term, right?
Yep.
When he's got that Wisconsin Badger diploma, that obviously goes outside of a 350-mile radius again. So you're going to have connections everywhere to be set up for life. That's the goal ultimately with, college in general too. So I think we just compete versus damn near everybody when you preach that to kids.
Yeah. Well, not to mention, like, if you're talking about recruiting, like, is an extra $200,000 really going to make you want to spend 4 years somewhere else where you could potentially be happier for somewhere else?
Yeah.
Like that's something that has to be considered. You know what I mean? And that's again where the people aspect of it can come into it. If people's families are going to be coming to spend weekends in Madison and it's a bunch of negative people around that aren't friendly, are they going to want to send their kids there? Are they going to want to be like, hey, I know this school offered you $750 and the Wisconsin's only offering you $600, but there's a much better atmosphere to be had in Madison than in Eugene or Gainesville or wherever else you're talking about.
Yeah.
So people are an advantage and they will continue to do so. And we at Wisco Fanatics would like to continue pointing that out and being those people leading the charge to just more positive people.
Yeah. And I will say too, we're definitely not the cheapest ones in NIL either. I want to get that straight. We're definitely not. So, I mean, just throwing that out there. We're not we're not giving kids nickels and pennies.
Yeah.
We're not the top, but we're definitely not the bottom for sure.
Yeah. We might be in the second or third tier.
We're in the thick of things. We're having conversations. That's for sure.
Yep.
I would like to end this episode with my favorite quote of all time. Are you guys ready for this?
Yep.
The quote is, "The world is full of nice people. If you can't find one, be one. If you're from Wisconsin, that is a goddamn way you're born into it. Be a good person."
All right. We'll be back with part 2 of the primer. Next week, it's going to have our record predictions and our bold predictions and our week 1 preview. So definitely come back with us next week, and we'll have a bunch more Brewer games to talk about. The Brewers are going to get started here in about 10 minutes. So join us again next week for part 2 of the primer, and we will see you guys next Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Later, fellas.